If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your Inter Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or intermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inter Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
For over 16 years, EJDconstruction.com has provided South Florida residents quality craftsmanship, accurate project management, and exceptional service. That's why EJDconstruction.com is an A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. When you're looking for the right custom home builder for additions or home remodeling, please call my friend Eric at 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDconstruction.com.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
And we are live. It is Tuesday night. I am Sean Stanley. He is Mr. AEW Frankie Frezko. Frankie, how we doing, sir?
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We're back.
We are back. I was out last week, so I apologize for that. Anybody watching, if you're watching NXT, Judgment Day has already made their entrance.
Oh, man. Keep me up to date.
They haven't made it to NXT, so they are there already on the chat board. EWD Jr., good evening, Sean and Frankie. A good evening to you.
Yes.
And Terry says, what's up, Sean and Frankie? So a what's up to you?
Welcome, guys.
Terry. And don't forget, you can follow us on our social medias at Sean_Stanley11. That is on everything, including the sewing app. That's right, Threads. You can get me on Threads at Sean_Stanley11. Steven Gonzalez says, what up, Sean and Frankie? I really hope Roman accepts Jay challenge. I really hope Jay wins the championship. We are going to discuss that here in a couple minutes.
We are.
And it's kind of interesting, Frankie. We'll get to that. We'll get to that, Steven. So just one moment there. And out last week I was, and nothing crazy really happened, I guess. I mean, pay-per-view. So we didn't just get to discuss the whole bloodline, you know, the way it went there, and then on SmackDown this week. So you know what? Let's start with, and you already have the pin up, so that's a good thing there. So we'll start WWE.
All right.
Don't forget, coming up, we got the come on, Frankie, say it. The top five.
Oh, top five, no debating.
There it is. The top five, no debating. That'll be a little bit later on in the show.
What is it?
One. You know what? Why don't we go ahead and tell them so they can kind of think about it as they're going, what today's top five is.
It's a good one, guys. It is gonna be our top 5 all-time heels. Who do we think is gonna be our top 5 heels? We're gonna go ahead and name them. I think Sean has something, different than I do. I have something.
We know we're two different eras in wrestling. I mean, our fandom is so differently. We're gonna have, I'm sure, a lot differently. All right, I want to go.
It's gonna be good.
2 things, and one, I think I'm gonna skip the first one I put on there, Frankie, because I think it kind of goes with the other question you asked down on yours on AEW.
Okay.
With the Rampage, I think I can kind of consolidate those, so we won't even mess with that one to start it with. But Jey Uso, as Steven said, was the one that pinned Roman Reigns at the pay-per-view, Money in the Bank. I almost forgot the name of the pay-per-view, which just happened a week ago. It shows where how good my memory is. And then on SmackDown, 40 minutes, that opening segment went 40 minutes with Roman, Jey, Solo, Paul Heyman, and all that. 40 minutes of TV time to end up sending Jey to the hospital. I'm sorry, Jimmy to the hospital. And then Jey did come back, and then he sent out, I guess, what did he? I forgot the exact wording. And Steven, maybe you remember this. When he said at the end, he said, "I'm the judge, jury, and executioner. This is," and he said something, the final war or something. I don't know. I forgot how he worded it. Yeah, they beat up Jimmy, bro. Yeah, I know, Cap. I know they beat him up. But here's my question, and this is where I'm kind of at, because the funny thing is, if Jey beats Roman, is that the end of the bloodline angle? And then also, what other swerves can they throw at us? Because I saw another conspiracy theory one, and it made me think a lot.
All right, so
it involved Jimmy Uso.
So my opinion when it comes to this is, I think Roman is gonna accept the challenge. That's obviously gonna be SummerSlam. That's SummerSlam. We already know that. But I think Roman's gonna win. I think honestly, this is gonna carry on, and the reason I say this is because they still have to incorporate Solo in this whole mix. And if you've seen, especially on SmackDown, if you saw SmackDown, you saw how he kind of couple times did a couple of actions that you don't expect Solo to do. So if I'm not mistaken, it was this past Friday where he went ahead and stopped Paul Heyman from talking on the microphone.
Well, he grabbed the mic, threw it out, and then that's
exactly
when the Usos came out.
So that's the first Solo moment that I see. Okay. Then the second thing I saw was when they were going at it, all of a sudden there was a scene where Solo is standing in the middle and the championship belt is right underneath him.
Well, also the tribal chief. I don't know I apologize. I don't know the technical term for it. The red lei that they have, that is the tribal chief.
Correct. So there's multiple signs, multiple kind of hints that WWE are pretty much telling us that I honestly feel that at one point in time, Solo's going to take over. And the only way Solo can take over, because Solo is not your typical wrestler that likes to talk on the mic, is with a Paul Heyman betrayal. And I honestly feel that's going to come eventually. I say that Paul Heyman will eventually betray Roman Reigns at one point in time and then side himself with Solo. That way, Solo can now become the tribal chief, but he's not going to be, I don't know if he's going to run the Usos with him and all that stuff. I still have yet to think about that, but I honestly feel they are going to angle it for him to take over at one point in time, the bloodline. What do you have with Jimmy?
What is your time frame for that, though? What would your time frame be?
Well,
for that working out? I'm not saying you're saying like what, by WrestleMania next year, by the end of this year, by what are you thinking?
We got SummerSlam. Obviously Roman and Jey are gonna fight. I would probably say come maybe Survivor Series.
Well, I think that quickly, huh?
Dude, don't you feel like they've extended it a little bit too much? Like I honestly,
but I also think though they got you guessing though, because right now it's like, okay, everybody's whole thing is oh, Jay's the one to end it. They've shown Jay's going to be, again, when everything you just laid out is the same thing that was laid out for Jay that led up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then also when you looked at it before, I honestly thought Jimmy would turn before Jay. And then what did they do? They both turned on Sammy. You know, like the whole thing was like, you could see it boiling, but they always said, Steven's saying he said the trial of the tribal chief. Okay. So when you're looking at how this is all playing out, it's almost like everything's being set up for you to feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the other guy, which is why when I read this thing about a conspiracy theory where Jey Uso was laid out, yes, but then he's going to come back and cost Jay, because remember, he didn't want Jay to be the tribal chief before.
So Jimmy was.
I'm sorry, Jimmy. I keep saying I get him mixed up. I'm sorry. Jimmy was the one that was injured. They're saying that part of that was done so that he ends up coming back to cost Jay the title or something along those levels. Not saying he's going back to the bloodline, but it's going to be a bigger fracture than what it was. And then the Usos go on a damn podcast, and what do they say? Their main event match would be Jay versus Jimmy.
I did hear that.
They went on a podcast 2 days later, and that was what was said. And I was like, So when you look at everything, I don't know that. So I think maybe it'll be the betrayal, or maybe it's just. I still don't see though a clear path of how you take the titles off of Roman after you've done this for all this time. He just passed Hulk Hogan's second title reign as the longest era of the modern era of the championships.
You know how I feel about Roman Reigns' his title defenses. Ever since who was it? I don't even remember who it was in the chat who mentioned it and show. No, it wasn't on the chat. It was actually on Twitter. Somebody had tweeted it out.
I read a Twitter fact. Yeah. I read a Twitter fact that was
after you read that. I felt I lost respect for Roman, man. I'm sorry. That's just me. I mean, I think the storyline is great, but I just lost respect for him in this title defense. That's just me, though. I'm sorry. Like, I honestly thought so big of him and everything. I think he's a great storyteller, amazing storyteller, but he needs to defend that belt, man. When was the last time he defended that belt? WrestleMania, man. Check it out, WrestleMania.
Yeah, as a singles competitor, yeah.
That's crazy, dude. Like, come on.
That's why they got Seth down. Seth is the working champion.
But let me ask you this. When you talk about Jimmy and you say Jimmy can eventually come and betray Jay, right? Are you insinuating that Jimmy's going to be out all the way to maybe SummerSlam and then betray Jay at SummerSlam? Is that what you kind of insinuating?
See, this is where they've kind of, now that I've got that in my head, to me, it's not smart if you turn them right now. I don't think because to me, it's like, okay, what, you work him for what? He's out now. He probably won't be at SmackDown this week. And then you've got SummerSlam a few weeks away. So you only got 2 or 3 weeks. I think it's too I honestly think Survivor Series time frame around that, November. Because now you can work it up to where, he went to super kick solo and he kicked Jay. He went, you can have all the little crinkles and wrinkles and everything done to set up the full and again, I don't know that it's going to necessarily be a turn. I don't know that it's because he's not going to go back to the bloodline. I just think you're going to see a fracture between the Usos. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if there's necessarily going to be a heel or a face move. It's just going to be like, you know what? We've been a tag team so long. It's time for us to go our single ways. And then ultimately, I believe they'll end up colliding. Whoever knows, man. Jey Uso might end up winning whatever, the U.S. title or something, and now the title's on the line at WrestleMania or something. I'm just, just throwing things out real quick here. But ultimately, that's where I believe they want to get to in this storyline.
Where else can they take it to?
Their ending of the bloodline storyline would be them two battling each other. And then maybe at the same WrestleMania, you got Solo versus Roman. Like, as you're saying, you know what I'm saying? I mean, again, you can extend this because to me, they haven't even got any family involved yet. And if you wanted to extend this for longer and longer, all you got to do is have Rikishi show up.
I don't think they're gonna bring Rikishi though.
Well, I'm saying obviously so far right now they're showing they're not going to bring anybody in.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you keep it going. I mean, they're doing a great job at keeping it going, but you're talking about working this until you've got 6 months before Royal Rumble.
You got to work. You got to put in a lot of work.
You've got to figure out how, are you ending it right now, or are there more swerves coming? That's going to be the question.
What the other thing is that if they're going to go ahead and do these different swerves, they better make it entertaining because, I mean, for me, it was okay. The whole, Money in the Bank, Roman gets pinned. That's great. And then you got now, Jay challenging Roman. Okay, we've seen this before. We've seen all this before. Like, for the casual fan, it's entertaining. For me, for a lot of the guys that have been watching wrestling, it's the same stuff.
Remember, though, one thing that WWE does that AEW doesn't is they cater to the casual wrestling fan, which is why their ratings stay up.
That's true. That is true.
Again, they do make it a little more interesting. There's little things that change. I mean, it's not crazy things that change, but some things have changed.
Yes.
So
they have. In that aspect, I can't go ahead and say sorry. I'm just retweeting something.
No, go, dude.
But I honestly feel that they have to do a better job for me selling it. Like been there, done that, man. I've seen it, and I like the turn. I agree with you. Now, if that's something that if they're gonna go with that angle where they're gonna have Jimmy against Jay, we haven't seen that before, have we? I don't think we have. I don't think we've ever seen as brothers go against each other. So that would be interesting. That would catch my eye. Solo becoming the next tribal chief, that we haven't seen that as well. But some of the stuff that they've done, it's like I think they prolonged it a little bit. Like the whole, giving him a low blow and all that stuff. You saw that they did that before, and all
the thing was he did that to Jay last time. Now Jay gave it back to him to help pin him. And that's the first time he was pinned in 2 years.
But what I'm saying is it's
but again,
where's the originality?
things mean something every once in a while when you're telling a story. I mean, it's not just, your AEW elite stuff, I mean, we're not just going to bring in the Japanese guys when we need to get a big pop, or some guy that nobody knows of. They're telling stories with the same guys, and they are bringing in the ratings. I mean, their ratings haven't gone down. The ratings have gone up.
The casual fan, my friend, the casual fan. It is
because they've got emotion from them on that whole, that side. If you're watching SmackDown, it is the bloodline angle.
They're not even wrestling on SmackDown.
They don't need to.
No,
that's the whole thing. I mean, again, they did a 40-minute segment. And I looked up because somebody put it on Twitter. I'm like, there's no way it was 40 minutes. I looked up and they were on commercial break and it was 45. And I was like, my God, like they went to 45 that long, and I didn't want to just scratch my eyeballs out. They kept me invested in it during that whole time.
Look, for me, I'm hooked on the storyline. I hope they don't drag this. I hope they do a big turn or they do something big sooner than later. I think leaving it all the way past Survivor Series or all the way to WrestleMania or something like that. I don't know.
Obviously now the SummerSlam timing has got to be off. There's no way unless they do something crazy. I mean, unless they just say, okay, pause the bloodline, Jimmy and Jay versus Roman and Solo, and put somebody else against Roman for the next couple months.
But here's the thing:
the only way you can do it.
WrestleMania is supposed to be right to our knowledge, Roman versus Cody too, right?
So that's been the lead dog in the house. But
so how are they gonna be able to sell all this, all leading up to WrestleMania, and then still have Roman with a belt on? That's the question there.
That's the whole thing. I mean, I think. I mean, I know the thinking behind it is you put Jimmy in the hospital, Jay blows a gasket, he wants the shot at SummerSlam. I almost feel like they rushed it, man. I feel like they rushed the Jimmy, but also at SummerSlam, you have to be big. Your 4 pay-per-views, you're going to have your big matches, your WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, Survivor Series. You're going to have those matches. They're going to load them up. They're going to stack them up. So, and again, that match is going to have a lot of emotion involved in that match. I want to see how they keep Jay from winning the title, or how they do it and keep. You can't have Roman go in there and clean win over Jay. That kills everything.
And like I said, I don't see Roman losing anytime soon. So I would be surprised if okay, maybe hold on a second. Because I'm now, as we talk, I come up with ideas.
Okay.
How about this? How about Jay does beat Roman? And then you run it back, and then Roman beats Jay eventually. That way he could still have the belt for WrestleMania. So when Cody goes against Roman,
then you end that streak if that's what you've been trying to build. Again, I don't know what their end game is on this.
That's the thing. What is more important?
Sending out the things of Roman just passed Hogan, Roman passed Pedro Morales, Roman next time he needs to do this is there, and Cap for Life. Reading what he's saying there's unfinished business between Sammy and Roman too, and KO and Roman.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know if they have any pay-per-views coming up in Canada. Do somehow they end up, wrinkling back into all this somehow with Roman and Sammy, because they're you can separate that for a month or so. You know what I'm saying? Depending on how you go, unless you do the thing where Roman and Solo snap since Jimmy is hurt. If Jimmy stays away at SummerSlam, they snap and beat up Jay, put him out for a couple of months. So now you have the Usos gone. Now you can have Roman, again, take on Sammy, take on KO while the Usos are gone, and then you bring them back into the fold closer toward Survivor Series. Possibly, because now you can get Roman to introduce, I don't know, maybe some new people for the bloodline. So now your Survivor Series traditional tag teams, you've got KO and Sammy. They need partners. Hey, we bring back the Usos, reintroduce them back to this war, and then you'll have, the 4 or 5 or however they want to do. Usually it's a 5-man team at traditional Survivor Series. And now you've kept them away for a little while. Roman's still fighting. And then all the time, too, you can have Solo just doing subtle things, the glances at the title, the glances at, bumping into Roman, all those little things that keep you going, okay, Solo's going to snap one time.
I like it, but I don't see the Usos getting hurt for a very long period of time. That's the thing. I think they have to they're going to keep this whole 4 of them involved the whole time, because I actually do like that idea. That I actually would, the way I was thinking is maybe beat Jay, hurt Jay, have him out, and then you start the feud between Solo and Roman, and then carry that on. Whereas
if you do that turn, then it's over.
No, because when Solo and Roman are going at it, you could actually extend that. You could actually say Roman beats Solo, and then you extend it even further, and then when he's gonna fight him again, that's when the Usos come back. And now that's why it's different now, because now Solo has the Usos on his back, and they're going to put.
But I guess my only thing is, if you're saying with everything right now, the end game is Cody versus Roman at WrestleMania. For me to believe Roman gets to WrestleMania, Solo needs to be there at least until the Royal Rumble. To me. That's just
you know what would be good?
So many, X's on his back right now.
What about if Solo wins Royal Rumble?
That's another thing.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
There's so many. I just
that's the other thing too. Like, there's other things to where, they can, there's different pay-per-views coming up. You got Fastlane. You've got, I don't think there's like any elimination chamber. I mean, there's certain things where you could, do something different. Survivor Series, you can have a 5-man tag team now, so you don't have to defend the title there. So then now that usually December, there's not a pay-per-view. If it is, it's early. And then it's at the end of January. So you'll have a while in between. And then January, Royal Rumble starts to WrestleMania. So
as long as they spice it up, like Cap says, I'll be fine with it. I just, like I said, I don't know. I hope they know what they're doing. I hope they don't drag this out.
They've been doing this for almost 2 years now. So
I understand that, but I don't know. For me, Friday just didn't sell me that much that Friday. But it was only one show, so maybe they do
what
something
didn't it
different.
sell you on? I guess is my question. Like what? Just because they did the low blow that was what was done before?
Not only a low blow. They hurt Jimmy at the beginning, and then they did that whole big segment at the beginning, right, about the bloodline, and then they bring it back at the end, and then here comes Jay again, and I'm like, man, why are they like? I don't think they needed to bring Jay that second half. They could have just left it at Jimmy just got knocked out. Jay went with him, and we'll find out what happens next Friday with these guys. That's it. I don't think they had to bring him back and then come back and then say, "Hey, I challenge you, Roman." I don't think that was necessary, but whatever. I mean, you started the show with the bloodline, you ended the show with the bloodline. And typically
the best portions of that show were
probably it's the beginning of the end. Usually the shows that are beginning of the end, it's usually the best portion of the shows. That's typically how it works. Okay. So maybe that's why they even put those at the beginning and end. But remember, the difference was that first segment at the beginning was very long. Like they had not done that. Typically, it's something small, but they went wow. They went straight to the point.
No, they went to one break. I know they took the break before Roman came out, and then Roman came out, and then it was on from there. But it's one of those things. Like I don't think they need to spice it up at all. I just think, again, it goes back to the whole thing. Whereas AEW wants that 10 a.m. wrestling fan, whereas WWE's like, no, they're invested in this. They're invested. They're spending their money. The Bloodline's the best-selling stuff, merchandise right now, and everything else. There's no need to. Again, the one thing I said with AEW at the beginning was, you don't need to fix what's not broken.
Yeah. Again, the casual fan eating it all day, and I get it. Me, maybe the ones that like Cap, we've been watching this for a while. I don't know. I just feel like they need to do a little bit more.
Well, we'll see where it goes, man. You'll see where it goes, and don't forget to jump in the chat and be a part of the show. And then let's see here. My dad's in. We got some of the top 5.
I saw that comment.
Again, today's top 5, which we'll discuss after this upcoming segment here, that we will talk about, is the top 5 heels of all time. And this is going to be funny because I believe generational. You're going to know where people started watching wrestling, and how long they've been watching. You're going to be able to tell a whole lot. Let's see what else here. Cat for Life says anything that doesn't involve Brock Lesnar attacking Cody Rhodes. And then Seth Rollins is getting involved. Yeah, that's the other thing too, is like on the Survivor Series one, they may be able to get, if you put a title, matches together where it's champion versus champion, Seth as a captain, Roman as a captain.
Oh my God.
I mean, you can do different things that's what I'm saying with the Survivor Series. They could probably do a whole month to where Roman doesn't have to worry about any of the bloodline,
true,
quote unquote stuff.
True.
The second thing I want to talk about was last night, Judgment Day, and also today on NXT. They're getting their little.
Are they doing anything in particular right now?
But hold on.
Keep me up to date. You
didn't hear about Brawl Out?
No. Tell me.
At the end of the match, backstage at Raw, there was a lot of back and forth arguing of how the match went. Nothing got verbally out of control like All Out.
Okay.
But backstage at Brawl Out, Brawl Out, RAW, Raw, and then L Out. So don't know what it was about yet. Don't know everything.
You don't know the juicy details?
supposedly Seth got roughed up in the match. That was one of the things I heard, and then they didn't like the way the match necessarily went out.
Who wasn't happy?
Well, it was. They said the voices that were raised were basically Damian, Finn, KO, Seth, and Sammy, but it was very short because KO left the building immediately because he had obligations, and Seth left pretty much right after. They just kind of yelled. There was some yelling apparently, and then
I love it.
That's pretty much all it went.
I love it.
So there you go. A little bit of the brawl out from Judgment Day. So now Judgment Day is on NXT. They just Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams, they did something with, and so we'll see how that goes. But I like the fact, and one of the things that I was worried, and hopefully, I don't know, we'll see how this goes. I was worried they were going to break them up.
I hope they don't.
No, I know. I mean, I saw a little bit last night, the hugs and the things where it looks like they're coming back, but it's almost like that part where it's like, yeah, I'll hug you to your face and behind your back, I'm going to stab your heart. It's like.
Well, did you see Damian Priest at what he said after he had that hug with Finn, and they were like, they had that discussion in front of Rita and Dominic, and they were like, okay, you're gonna win the championship, whatever. And then he said something about like, I got the money in the bank and I'll guarantee it as well, something like that. And then Finn kind of looked at him like saying, wait, what are you trying to insinuate? And then it kind of ended that. So it looks like they're gonna go with that particular like Finn versus Damian Priest. I hope that doesn't happen.
Well, it looked like in the match they kind of healed up some of those things, and then tonight they all came out together normal. So again, I don't know how to look at it.
This is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that at one point in time, Finn Balor is gonna win something. He's gonna win. He's gonna beat Seth. I have the feeling he's gonna beat Seth. And what's gonna end up happening is Damian Priest is gonna use the briefcase on Finn, and that's when the Judgment Day kind of has their issues. And remember, Edge was the leader at the beginning. They turned on Edge, and who were the three that turned on them? It was Rita, Dominic, and Damian, and then they brought in Finn. So now that I have the feeling they're gonna try to.
Actually, it was just Rhea and Damian, wasn't it?
Wasn't Dominic part of the team at that time? I don't remember. Maybe it was just Rhea. Maybe it was just Rita.
It was just Rhea and
I think you're right.
And Damian, and then because they recruited Dominic with Rhea in the group.
Yeah, you're right. So, but
and Finn,
still, so if they did it,
no. But also, I think one of the things which has come out since this Judgment Day was the fact that creative didn't think the Judgment Day with Edge would work. They thought a Judgment Day with Finn would work better. And Edge has already came out and said, he's like, I agree 100% with what they did, because
successful.
Yeah, because again, WWE had a vision of what they wanted the Judgment Day to be, and I think Edge had his vision of what he wanted to be, and I don't think they were the same.
Yeah.
Edge wanted to go more, I believe, if reading into kind of the wording, he wanted to go more Attitude Era with Judgment Day. Whereas WWE just wanted it to be just some badasses. So
now what I did like was Rhea Ripley saying that they were going to take the belts from everything. They were talking.
Again,
Oh man,
that's great saying. I mean, we'll see what happens if Dom wins the NXT title tonight.
If Dom wins the NXT title, you gotta give me credit, man, because I called it. I've been calling it saying, look, so I called it saying that he needs to say something besides just staying quiet.
No, I meant ultimately, yes, like we were talking about before the show. Ultimately, yes, he needed to get a voice, but not right then. I think the way they've organically allowed Dominic and the crowd to kind of invest in each other, however you want to put it, that
of course, yeah,
that way has made the Dom character that much better.
True.
You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things to where when, and I say it all the time, and probably everybody just wants to punch me in the face when I say it, but it's about getting emotionally invested. Whether it's you want to boo them, whether you want to hate them, whether you want to love them, you're still invested in them. And that's the way the crowds have gotten with Dom just because of him being the fact that he turned on his dad, and he called his dad a deadbeat, and then he wrestles his dad and he gets spanked, and then all the stuff, all the weasel stuff that he did, and then to see how it's gone now, and watch Dom grow into this, and like you said, ultimately he needed to get a more of a voice. I don't want it to get too crazy either. I like the way it is now, because they yell at him and then they drown him out, and then he yells back and then they drown him out.
That's exactly what
it needs to be, because then he still keeps a little bit of the weaselness there, but at the same time you're watching the character arc go up.
Hey, what I've been telling you, that they need
the character arc is what I'm talking about. You're talking about, he needs a title to be something.
I did not say that.
You wanted to give him a damn U.S. title. You wanted to give him the.
But remember what I told you. I said they had to build him up slowly, and this is exactly what arc is the same.
No, but it's a character arc. Not. It's not. It's a character gimmick arc. It's not a Dom needs to go to the top to be a top heel.
But I remember what I told you. I said to you, he's never gonna be a WWE champion. If he is, he still needs a lot of work.
I know. We both said that. You said he needs a U.S. title run or one of the smaller titles. You said, and I said, well, why don't we just give him the AEW titles and everything else? Remember?
No. We said that to give Roman Reigns all the titles.
Yes.
What I did say is he could work his way up to get either the Intercontinental belt or get the USA belt. And then I thought outside the box and said, you know what? Send him to NXT. You're pushing NXT. You want NXT to do well. I have no doubt that Dominic can beat Carmelo.
Oh, my God.
And I'm going to tell you why. So I know I was going to get a reaction from you. I knew I was going to get and I'll probably get a reaction from the chat as well. Because you know what? I had this conversation, and I have conversation with some of my friends, and I told them, hey, look, Dominic should be able to beat Carmelo. And I'll tell you why. This makes perfect sense why he could beat Carmelo. First and foremost, Dominic is in the main roster as far as Monday Night Raw. So he's already fought Cody. He's already fought Seth. He's already done his weasel stuff for a very long time. He has Rhea Ripley always guiding him. He has the Judgment Day backing him up. Carmelo is good, but who has Carmelo beaten? Braun Breaker? Corbin? Come on, man. He doesn't have.
Cole?
We're talking about recent. We're talking about recent stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Recent stuff. It makes perfect sense for Dominic to beat Carmelo in a weasel way, because obviously he never wins fairly. And look, man, like, did you see that frog splash that he did on Seth? That's how you know he's growing. We didn't talk about Money in the Bank. I will tell you one thing, and this was my opinion. I really thought that the Cody.
That was a stupid match. They should have written it off.
That was probably the worst match out of all of them.
I was like,
that should have been the first match.
That's a Raw match. That's just put that on Raw. That was like, I was like, they're really not bringing nobody out here. I'm like, they're not doing anything.
That was the worst match out of that pay-per-view.
Right, it was a squash match. It was like, hey, okay, everybody, go get your drinks.
But Dominic got better when he fought against Seth, and he's gotten better as he's gotten with Seth.
He's gotten better. It wasn't that he was bad against God. It's just the way the match was written up was just, to me.
No, that match was terrible, man.
It was just written up bad. But it was written up in the way of what it should have been. Because if it was a real match, Cody just schools Dominic without.
Well, then that's why they should have had that match first.
No, that's why I thought Brock was coming back then. I was like, it's got to be. They've got to be setting this up for something. Yeah. And there was not. I was just like,
yeah.
No, I rewound it. I watched it twice to make sure I didn't.
It's really
I was
bad.
like, did I miss something?
I originally fell asleep on that match. That's how bad that match was. Anyways, long story short, I still think he should go NXT. He wins the NXT belt. I hope he challenges Carmelo, and he tells them, "Hey, I want a match. I want a tag team." He doesn't wrestle him tonight. Don't wrestle him tonight. Just challenge him, man. Be like, come out there, have the people boo him, and then him again on the mic say, "You want to know something? I want you guys to boo me. I'm gonna prove it to you guys that I'm better than all you guys, and this is the way I'm gonna prove it. I challenge Carmelo for the NXT title belt." and I challenge him to next week, and then have it, and people are gonna get intrigued. Look, man, I want to watch NXT. I'm recording it because I don't have a TV in this area.
I got no sound on it because it's right here on my tablet, so I'm missing a lot of it. But yeah, so.
I mean, I might towards the end, if we towards the end of the show, I might put it on my phone. But at the end of the day, I think that's what they should do. And not only are you building up NXT, you're building up that Judgment Day, which at the end of the day is what they're pushing. They're pushing Judgment Day like there's no tomorrow.
But I mean, you can push it. To me, at this point, Dom doesn't need a title. Doesn't
he doesn't? But
need a title. He's overlooked. Why put a title on him?
But you want to know what WWE is trying to do? They're trying to make NXT more popular, more relevant.
But you're not doing that by putting the title on Dom.
Yes, you are, man. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're getting invested now because now you're looking at NXT and be like, yo, we get to see Dom. Let me see how that crowd of 200-300 people boo Dominic over there. Let me see what he does over there. And then make his way over to Monday Night Raw and do it all over again. And then he could carry the NXT belt on Monday Night Raw, and people are even going to boo him even more. Be like, what the hell? What is this guy doing with a champion, with an NXT
If they announce tonight that NXT is starting a travel and they're going to start touring, then I could say, okay, maybe they do something here. Maybe they do something because Carmelo is supposed to go to Raw.
Yeah.
Carmelo is supposed to be getting called up to Raw, supposedly. We'll see how that works out.
Who did Carmelo face on Monday night that a couple weeks ago?
Finn. That's what started the whole thing with them coming to NXT.
There you go. So that goes to show you. Look at that. So he's lost. He hasn't beaten anybody recently. Like he's Braun Breaker and Corbin are scrubs, man. Let me take that back. I don't want to insult Braun Breaker and Corbin.
All right,
Corbin is a scrub. Braun Breaker's good. I like Braun Breaker.
I do. Have you watched him as a chef?
No.
Oh, dude, you got to follow him on Instagram, man. He cooks up these damn tomahawk steaks and these fillets. And
oh man, he should be in Top Chef then.
So good. He's arguing with some guy from, I think, Top Chef or something.
Oh man.
Let's see. Cap for Life. Before we jump off WWE, Cap for Life just threw in and said, and King Mahi Carlos, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
Yes.
On the chat. What did you guys think about Ricochet versus Logan Paul? That was pretty. You know what it was? It was as WWE does. It was just
I like the match.
I do too. I don't mind the match. I just
their mic skills are
it's like if we could just do something. And Logan Paul when Logan Paul comes on, I mute it down.
But I like Logan Paul. I prefer Logan Paul than Ricochet. I think Logan Paul's mic skills were better than Ricochet.
But the whole flip thing out of the ring, that's what he did with Velveteen Dream back in NXT. He did the flip, but he flipped onto there because they had to walk up stage. So he did the flip onto the walk up stage and he walked right up into Velveteen Dream's face. It's
so funny because WWE retweeted that. Like they went ahead and they posted when he did the flip. And then I think they put on there saying, oh, that's cool. And then on the comments, I wrote Carlitos eating, and then I put an emoji of an apple. I said, that's cool.
Which apparently he'll be back soon too. So we'll see how that goes.
That would be interesting if they again.
Where does he fit in? That's the whole thing. It's like where
LWO baby. LWO.
Hey man, we'll see. The LWO is getting crowded, buddy. All right, so that's pretty much it for WWE talk right now. So now it is time for a segment that we call Top 5.
No debating.
There you go.
Sean, you need to
my camera's to the side of me, so I apologize.
You have to say it with my like the way I say it,
How do you say it?
No debating. Like Drake. That's what we got. Remember Drake?
Yeah, that's why I say top 5. You say no debating. That's what
and then we're gonna then like Drake, top 5, because that's what he says on his lyrics.
So I gotta say it 5 times?
No. I'm just saying that.
Gracious. All right. So I know there was some in the chat. If you haven't got in the chat yet, top 5 heels of all time. Get them in now. We do have one already in from Giovanni. He went number 5, Kane.
Ooh, good one.
Number 4, Flair.
Yes.
Number 3, Shawn Michaels and DX.
Not bad.
Number 2, Vince McMahon. and number 1, Hollywood Hogan.
The Hulkster.
So not a bad one, but I can tell your Attitude Era. You're the Attitude Era. That's where you started watching Attitude Era, and then that's where your ultimate wrestling fandom goes from. So Frankie Frezko, I guess I'll bring up our top 5 thing. You go first, I'll go second. And hold on a minute, make sure nobody else threw anything in here. Okay, yeah, no, nobody else. All right, so here we go. Top 5 heels all time. This is the top 5.
Okay, so no debate.
We worked on this for 37 minutes earlier.
I got it. All right, so first and foremost, you guys don't get mad at me. Okay, don't get mad at me with my first two. With my
suck like last week. Or the week before.
This is by the number 5 and number 4 for me. I have to be a little bit biased, and I'm gonna be a little bit biased because I do have to admit that my number 5 is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. So number 5, heel, Sean. There he is. It's Scott Hall, and I'm gonna tell you why. I didn't want to go with any factions, so I think Sean is gonna go with some factions. I try to stay away from that. I try to stay with only individuals. So here's my reasoning. First and foremost, Scott Hall is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, and the guy is known as the bad guy. One of the most famous quotes when he got inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame. Bad guys, how does it say? Bad times don't last, but bad guys do. Amazing. And that's exactly what it was. The reason I know that there's better heels. I'm not gonna lie to you. There are better heels. This one's kind of like
also depends on how you define a heel, and that's kind of what we discussed earlier.
So
what is your definition of a heel?
So one of the reasons why so here's what I did to make these decisions. First and foremost, I not only saw WWE, I looked at the whole what I know of wrestling. And I know of Scott Hall when he was Razor Ramon when he first started in WWE. That's when I first saw Scott Hall. I thought he got over the 1-2-3 kid. I thought that even though he's a heel, he got him over. So he's a team player when he did that. Secondly, I remember he went, I believe it was I don't remember if it was Jerry Springer or Oprah Winfrey. It was one of these shows. And when he was the Intercontinental Champion, he went to the show and he was just so humbling with kids. I remember he was doing the whole thing and all that stuff. And that was things that stood out for me. But the reason why I also, that's like the stuff that I loved from him as a wrestler. But the reason I really, really picked him as a heel is because number 1, he had a hell of a run with NWO. And he was one of the main reasons that you were able to turn Hulk Hogan into Hollywood Hogan. And if you're able to turn one of the biggest baby faces in wrestling into a heel, you gotta give that guy credit. I know Kevin Nash is there with him as well, but him just doing it was just amazing. The other reason I went ahead and gave him credit was because when Kevin Nash beat Goldberg in WCW and he ended the streak, it wasn't only Kevin Nash. It was Scott Hall. And what did Scott Hall do to Bill Goldberg to mess him up? He stunned him with that stun gun. And that was one of the first things that caused Bill Goldberg to eventually go ahead and lose that fight. So if one of the biggest, longest undefeated streaks in wrestling history, you have Scott Hall who put and played his part into it. Obviously, the Razor Ramon character, he was always very well known for that. And then, how can you not put a heel that calls himself the bad guy? I mean, that's just, for me, you got to give yourself that. You got to put him on the list, at least for me. I know there's better heels out there. I know you guys are going to be a little bit upset with me, but I had to put him on there. My next heel, I know you guys are not going to be happy, and you're going to say, Frank, you're being biased. But I have to do it, and I have to do it for one reason only, and it's because there it is, ladies and gentlemen. You guys know me as Mr. AEW. So as Mr. AEW, I need to show love to somebody from AEW, and it was tough. It was between this guy or Chris Jericho. and I picked Chris Jericho. I think Chris Jericho was a great heel, and he's only elevated himself to a bigger heel as he's been in AEW. I mean, you have some amazing things that he has done there. He's done the Inner Circle, which has led to great fights between Cody Rhodes, between John Moxley. You have all these things. You have the Chris Jericho Appreciation, another faction where he was able to go ahead and make and be a heel over there. In WWE, not only in AEW, in WWE, he went against Shawn Michaels. That was a huge time when him and Shawn Michaels would go ahead and have that feud. Another thing is when The Rock when The Rock was going ahead and talking, there was a segment of The Rock, and then Chris Jericho finally came out with that badass intro. And I'm gonna tell you what, the main reason why he's on my list as the number 4 best heel, he is the only wrestler that I know of, maybe I might be wrong, to have beaten The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin on the same day. He's the only wrestler that has been able to do that. No other wrestler has been able to beat Stone Cold and The Rock the same day. And you got, for that particular reason, Chris Jericho, I have to give him love. AEW love, WWE love, had to give him, put him in 4th place. Now let's talk about my top 3. Now my top 3 you guys are gonna agree with me, and this is the reason why. Number 3, you guys know him, and it's the Legend Killer, baby. Yes, it is Randy Orton. What a heel Randy Orton has been in the WWE. I mean, this guy has burned freaking Undertaker. He's burned The Fiend before. I mean, I remember Randy Orton when he betrayed, when it was the Raw versus SmackDown, and I believe he betrayed a SmackDown, and he had Undertaker in the back, and he puts him in the car, and he reverses it all the way and runs it into the back of the screen of the entrance of SmackDown, and then the car blows up and everything. My God, how can you not appreciate what Randy Orton did? That feud with Undertaker was one of the most memorable heel I've ever seen in my life when it comes to him. The guy has done everything. Not only that, but his feuds with Christian. I'm sorry, with Edge. I mean, he's done so many things. And then, did you guys forget when he went ahead and he grabbed Jeff Hardy's ear and he tried to rip Jeff Hardy's ear on live TV? Come on, man. If you're not a heel, if you're not trying to rip somebody's ear off, when he put his hand right in his ear where his earring is and started pulling it to try to rip his ear off. Come on, man. What kind of heel that is insane, man. When you do those type of things, you got to be in the top 5 for me. And for that reason, I got one more reason too. How could I not forget? Stephanie McMahon, when he had his feud with Triple H, and he gave Stephanie that deadly kiss, kissed her right on the lips while Triple H was handcuffed, looking at that. I mean, come on, man. Randy Orton has done an amazing job. And one of the reasons why I put him on that list is because he's been able to do it for so long, man. Like, this isn't something that he's done, just recently. He's known as the Legend Killer for a reason. He's done amazing things, and he's been able to hold it down. And I was probably 100% sure he was going to turn on this guy, Matt Riddle, as well, before he got hurt. And WWE could only get better when Randy Orton is in WWE. And this is the reason why I have Randy Orton my number 3 heel of all time. Number 2, oh man, I am going a little bit old school. And number 2 for me is the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. And I will quote him. I have him somewhere. Where's his quote? The limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheel dealing, son of a gun. Woo! Ric Flair, baby. And the reason I went ahead with Ric Flair as my number 2 is I'm going to tell you why. Not only has Ric Flair been a heel in WCW, been a heel in WWE, has been a heel in TNA, he's been a heel in New Japan Wrestling. I mean, for the love of God, the guy has been a heel all his life. I mean, the guy created the 4 Horsemen. How can you not go ahead and give him credit for that? He went ahead and had that feud with Dusty Rhodes back in the day, and he broke Dusty Rhodes' arm. He sold that to the crowd, and the crowd was like, "Oh my God, Jesus Christ! Dusty Rhodes has actually broke his arm. He broke his arm. Jesus!" They wanted to kill Ric Flair back then. The feud with Sting back in WCW. How can you not remember that? I mean, technically, in my opinion, I think Sting owes Ric Flair the reason why Sting became what he is. Because if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Ric Flair and Sting that actually did the first WCW episode, and they also did the last WCW episode before they got sold to WWE. The feud with Macho Man Randy Savage, Elizabeth, his father. How can we forget that in WWE or WWF at that time? Those things just, and I'm gonna even go even more old school. Harley Race, who was the heel who created Ric Flair. Before there was Ric Flair, there was Harley Race. But it was between Harley Race and Ric Flair, and I went ahead and said, you know what, man, Ric Flair has just surpassed him, and he did so much over such a long span in his career that I can't not go ahead and not give Ric Flair his credit. I mean, for the love of God, he even in New Japan Wrestling, he fought against the Great Muta. So you got so much from Ric Flair all around that, and I know I'm rambling, Sean. I know I'm rambling, but I'm telling you, Ric Flair, number 2 heel. It was tough not to have him as my number 1, but there's a reason why he's not number 1. And the reason he's not number 1 is because this man has gone ahead and he's been the baddest heel of all time, Mr. Vince McMahon. How can you not give this guy as the biggest heel? Not only has he also been relevant for so many years, he's the boss. He had people kiss his ass, which was fucking, excuse my language, so fucking like crazy. He had Trish Stratus bark like a dog. I mean, he had women always parading around him, like Stacy Keibler. I mean, I remember he had that one of those episodes where he would beat the crap. He would talk so much smack to his own kids, to Shane O'Mac as well. There was a scene where he went and he told Shane O'Mac, he's like, I would never forgive your mother for giving birth to you. Come on, like how can you not just consider Vince McMahon to be such a badass heel? I mean, he has done it all. And then not only that, but his entrance song, No Chance, that's what you got? Come on, man. Like everything for Vince lined up. Even now, which everybody hates him. Not only is he a great heel when it comes to the wrestlers, but he's a great heel to the fans. People do not like him. I mean, his feud with Stone Cold. The fans right now even talk about Vince. I mean, the guy, look at the stash. Look at the stash. Even after all these years, everybody says, yo, he's a creep. He's creepy as hell. He's changing the show. People hate it. That's a heel move, man. And as the boss, he went ahead and just outshined as the heel of all time in my eyes. And for that reason, Vince McMahon, the biggest heel of wrestling. That is my top 5. Scott Hall 5, Chris 4, Randy Orton 3, Ric Flair 2, and your man Vince McMahon number 1. Take it away, Sean.
All right. So mine are, and I want to go with, I have honorable mentions as well because I couldn't fit everybody in. So I went a couple honorable mentions. And 3 honorable mentions I'll give. They were Terry Funk, MJF, because as a modern day heel, he's pretty damn good, and Randy Orton. Now I drive back in. Let me go over. Actually, we got some here. All right, Terry. I don't know if he's making new lists or if he's got 3 top 5. He says his top 5 heels are Iron Sheik, Hollywood Hogan, Roddy Piper, Shawn Michaels, Kevin Sullivan. Then he went down. He said Randy Savage, Edge, Kurt Angle, CM Punk, Gorgeous George. Then he once again listed JBL, Honky Tonk Man, Mr. Perfect, The Rock, Stone Cold. He just wants to hit everybody. He's going to give it everybody.
Don't forget Big Boss Man.
Big Boss Man. All right, let's see. And I think that's it, right? That was it right there. Terry, where's that?
Ted DiBiase. There's so many good.
He was a
heels out
good
there.
heel. All right, so now here goes mine.
All right, let me know if I'm spelling them wrong.
Number one was probably one of the first guys that ever I feared, and then I've learned to become very respectful of him, and I actually got to wrestle him. It's Kevin Sullivan from Championship Wrestling from Florida.
All right.
Now, this was in the days where you had the Purple Haze. He had Billy Graham. It was Sir Oliver Humperdinck, the one-man gang. They were going against Kevin Sullivan. I mean, this was when you really thought he was out there, Satan, and he brought the snakes to the ring. Abu Dean, his manager, was a good friend of mine, a great friend of mine. And you had, I'll never forget the one episode they had. It was Kendall Windham. It was the angle was he brought in a schoolmate of Kendall Windham's, who at the time Barry Windham and his dad Blackjack Mulligan were wrestling there, and they had the lady shave her head on TV, half of her head, and she became a part of Kevin Sullivan's. And then so as Kendall started trying to save her, and then they jumped him, which then brought in Blackjack Mulligan and Dusty and all that stuff, man. But Kevin Sullivan, dude, I feared him, man. Literally. I went to San Francisco Theater. They pulled up in a Winnebago. I've told this story before.
You have.
They got dressed in there. They walked into the San Francisco Theater. When the match was over, they walked out. The Winnebago started, and they pulled off. It was a cult following for them. There were people with the black X's on their forehead. Like, it was a cult following for him at that time. And to me, that's one of the and to me, that also helped Dusty and a lot of the baby faces, because when you have such a good antagonist or a heel like Kevin Sullivan was, you were able to become a top baby face. My next one was a tag team, and it was a tag team that was in world-class championship wrestling and became the tag team that helped elevate the Von Erichs, and that's the Fabulous Freebirds. That's Michael P.S. Hayes, that is Buddy Roberts, and that is Terry Bam Bam Gordy. It's one of those things to where
That type of right?
yeah.
Wait, hold on.
Yep. Well, the Fabulous is not right. I'm sorry, it's a U where the O. Yeah, they're Fabulous. Yeah, that's right now. So the whole thing started where Michael P.S.A.'s went to Texas and was going to be a friend with Kerry Von Erich. And Kerry Von Erich was challenging, I believe it was Ric Flair at that time, for the title. And he slammed. He ended up. Michael Hayes helped him and told him to pin Ric Flair. And he's like, no, I don't want to win that way. And then Terry Gordy came down and slammed the door on Kerry Von Erich's head, and then it just elevated from there. I believe I was trying to find the exact, they did a thing at the Christmas, there was a match that they did. They sold out the Cotton Bowl for the feud between the Von Erichs and the Freebirds. And again, this is in a time where you're in territories. You're not talking about WWE and AEW selling out stadiums. You're talking about a world-class championship wrestling going down there because of what these six guys, how much they hated them. And then the whole thing, they had the gel and then they put it in Buddy Roberts' eyes and he went blind for a while. It was just, there was so much animosity there that they couldn't do the regular entrance, because the regular entrance of World Championship Wrestling was you went from the back of the building and you walked through the crowd. The Freebirds couldn't do that. They had to come from the side, and because of the hatred for them, because of the love for the Von Erichs. And again, I think what made the Von Erichs so good was the antagonist, which was Michael P.S.A.'s Terry Gordy and Buddy Roberts. Number 3, Vincent Kennedy McMahon. And I have him there at 3 because of what he meant for the Stone Cold character. Again, to me, a good heel is being a great antagonist. Now, would Stone Cold been Stone Cold? More than likely, yes. You probably could have found somebody, but Vince McMahon added to that character. And the fact that he owned the company, and at that point, as you already said, he could do whatever he wanted any damn way. So you got women barking like dogs. You got people kissing his ass. And then what made it even greater was that he would reverse the roles on himself, and he would end up getting, and that is another good thing about, a heel is, look, you're going to get yours, but when it's time for them to get theirs, you have to give it back just as much. And Vince McMahon, one thing you got to say about him is he's going to go out there and, dude, he's going to give it his all. He's going to give it. He might not have much to begin with, but you're going to get everything that Vince McMahon has. And as a heel, and again, it's easy when you own the company and nobody can tell you what to do and you go out there and do whatever you want to do. And also, that's not such a far-fetch of what real Vince McMahon is. And that's what helps as well. You got to be a little bit of a son of a bitch. And that's what he was. And I know you already went into everything else on him, so I will not go into that one. Number 2 on my list is one of the reasons why I think Vince McMahon was such a good heel was because he got to sit front row and watch this man for so many years, the Hot Rod, Roddy Piper. And now a lot of people know him in the WCW days where he was the good guy and he was fighting Hollywood Hogan. But before that, dude, Roddy Piper was a son of a bitch. He busted a coconut over Jimmy Snuka's head. He had Piper's Pit, and he would just, whatever he wanted to do. Again, I believe that is a little bit of where Vince McMahon learned about, look, WrestleMania 1, they hated Roddy Piper so damn much, he ended up being Hulk Hogan's nemesis. Think about that. That is what started pro wrestling. Hulk Hogan and Mr. T versus Paul Orndorff and Roddy Piper, because they hated Piper so much because of why? He even got in with the wrestling and rock, whatever it was back in the day with Cyndi Lauper. Remember, Piper's the one that slammed the record over David Wolf's head, or I think it's David Wolf, I believe his head. That started the whole rock and wrestling. The whole thing blew up because of that. And that is, again, it's one of those things. And I get it. Everybody thinks a lot about all of, the ending of his career. And he was a good guy. And he came out and he played the bagpipes and everybody loved to see him. They forgot, man, how evil he was. And number 1, to me, the greatest duo, the greatest faction in pro wrestling history, the Four Horsemen. That included Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, Ole Anderson at the beginning, and then also when they replaced him with Barry Windham. Now, again, many other forms of the Horsemen, but those four guys were heels. They're attacking Dusty in the parking lot. They're attacking Magnum TA. Ric Flair never had a clean match. As soon as you were close to beating him, you had Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard in the ring before you could get a count of 2. They were hated. They would be in that little studio where they recorded WTBS Saturday Night, and the place would go bananas and boo them and everything else. And Ric Flair on the mic was freaking gold, man. Because why? Because that's who he is, man. He's himself. All this stuff I have, you want, and you can't have it. Why? Because I'm better than you. Hey, who else says that nowadays? Think about it. Diamonds are forever. So are the Four Horsemen. And dude, I just don't think you can get a lot better than that. And again, I know I missed a lot of guys. And as, Terry said, there's just so many. There's a lot of great bad heels. But what I did was I kind of took it from looking at angles in different eras in wrestling and brought those as my 5. I mean, yeah, and everybody said the Iron Sheik.
Yep.
To me, yes, he was one of the, but also I believe, it's like with Nikolai Volkov, you know what I mean? Like, he was hated, but was he a great heel, or was it just because he's from Russia and then you're US and you're supposed to hate him? Now, Iron Sheik, I mean, dude, I love Sheiky Baby more than anybody else, RIP and everything else, Twitter and everything else, and all his ramblings and everything that he does. I love him to death. But I believe that, to me, and look, I did a gimmick that way. I was the American Taliban. I was hated. But it's easy when you walk around waving a Rocky flag, to be booed and become, become hated. And again, on a much smaller level than, by the way, than the Iron Sheik was hated. I'm not sitting there saying that, but what I was trying to say was that, if you start waving the Iraqi flag or the Iranian flag, especially in those times,
Ooh.
you know what I'm saying? It was, and again, Iron Sheik was awesome. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know that he would, make it to me on the top 5 all-time heel wrestlers just because of the fact that, unfortunately, the Iranian number 1 USA, Hapui, easy heat, cheap heat in a way, but he worked it magnificently, and he was even greater because he earned the respect of so many fans afterwards that when he got out of wrestling and doing just the shows for the conventions, he twofold himself, man. He became fan favorite. And that's the reason too why I didn't have a lot of the NWO guys on there, because I think they became so cool that they weren't even heelish anymore. To me, to my definition of what a heel is, they became so cool that they were pretty much the baby faces in their match because they could do whatever they wanted to do, and nobody was going to sit there and admonish them. You know what I'm saying? So,
before we go in the comments, I wanted you guys to know that again, we tried to do like our top 5. I know that there are so many heels out there. The Iron Sheik. I mean, Kane was a good heel. Christian was a good heel. You got even the honorable mentions of MJF as a heel. I mean, you could probably even put Roman Reigns in there for this time. I mean, he's having a good run himself, being a bad guy out there. Just so many guys. Ted DiBiase, the Big Boss Man. I was thinking about the Big Boss Man because the Big Boss Man wasn't the Big Boss Man the one who tied up this guy's coffin and
Giant. Big Show's dad, and Big Show was laying on the coffin, driving it away.
Dude, those are a heel move that like will always live in our memories. And
then also, Boss Man, remember he cooked Al Snow's dog or whatever.
Yeah, yes, and then he made him eat it.
Yeah,
that was awesome. Those are great heels. Honky Tonk Man. I mean, you got so many throughout our generations, and that's why I know you guys were probably upset with my first 2, but I had to show a little bit of love to AEW because I am Mr. AEW. But I still and Skullha, I really just he's a fan favorite. I mean,
I agree with you with them, but the problem I have with that is that same thing with like Stone Cold. I think the Stone Cold heel run is overshadowed because of how big and how cool he became. That everybody forgot, like, oh, wait, this is a heel. And I believe that's kind of what has happened in wrestling now. There's not really a heel and a face. There's that gray area in between. Yeah, you still have your faces at the time. Jungle Boy Jack Perry was a great face. Now I think he's going to be even better heel because he has that look to where you're like, I want to slap him in the face. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just little things. To me, the heel, like, again, Kevin Sullivan, the Freebirds, antagonists, the Horsemen, Vince McMahon with Stone Cold, with Bret Hart, Roddy Piper with Hogan, with Snuka, with Adrian Adonis, with all these guys, Greg Valentine back in the day. I mean, but I think Greg Valentine was actually the heel and Piper was the babyface there. But, just when you watch Piper's Pit, it was like, oh, shoot, what the heck is going to happen now? What is he going to do here now? You know what I'm saying? And then also, it didn't help that the guy would wear a kilt out to the ring playing bagpipes and then get there and whoop your ass.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like the little things like that. And the whole interaction with Cyndi Lauper and Lou Albano. And remember, he was in Cyndi Lauper's video Time After Time. I believe it was Time After Time, the second one.
I think so.
With Captain Lou Albano.
Did he kick Cyndi Lauper?
Well, I know Lou Albano was the dad. And then
was that WrestleMania 1?
Yeah, that was WrestleMania 1. Billy Martin, Cyndi Lauper was managing Wendy Richter, and then Wendy Richter wanted more money, and they screwed her by having the Fabulous Moolah come in and.
Fabulous, yeah.
We didn't go into I didn't get into the women,
Maybe we should do it next time.
Luna Vachon and all those.
Wait, don't give it away. Maybe we could do that next week. We could do women's top 5 heels of all time. That would be a good one. But I will say this. I mean, on the chat they've mentioned it. I mean, I saw there this guy, Mr. Perfect. I saw in the chat, Mr. Perfect. Yeah, great.
That gimmick. It's like, to me, it's like the $1 Million Man gimmick too, though. It's like one of those, like Vince McMahon made so many characters that the gimmicks were just hateable because the $1 Million Man. Think about this. He gave that guy, he flew him around on a private jet.
Yeah.
Made sure a limo picked him up. He only stayed in 5-star hotels, and they gave him $2,000 cash every night to make sure he had cash in his pockets. So if he went to a restaurant, he would be able to pay and tip high and everything else.
I wish I was Virgil, bro.
Gimmick.
I wish I was Virgil.
Probably want to, if it wasn't Ted DiBiase, if it was some guy that just got a chance and that was the gimmick they gave him, that guy probably would have got his ass with. And then, oh, by the way, we're going to make you an all-gold belt with diamonds and call you the $1 Million Champion.
Yeah. Classic belt.
Yeah. I saw one of the best things ever. Remember the kid that dribbling the basketball? He's like, you dribble it 10 times, I give you $200.
Yes, I remember that.
9, he kicks the ball out. Do you know Ted DiBiase went to talk at a convention, and the manager of the car rental place that he went to was that kid?
No way.
Yeah, they took a picture together.
That's awesome.
Yep.
See, and I'm pretty sure that kid is gonna always, that older guy now is always gonna love that moment, bro.
Yep.
It's always gonna love that moment. Like, I mean, dude, it's just so many out there that, like, you really, I mean, JBL was another great heel I saw in the chat. I also saw Honky Tonk Man, Stone Cold, The Undertaker, The Rock, when The Rock was bad. You know, there's a lot of guys out there that just, there's too many. But if the chat kind of looks at both of our lists, I think the chat can respect our list, both of our lists.
Also, I think it's one of those lists where unless you go like really crazy, you can, like, for me, I went off of eras and angles that, you know, for me was they were the antagonists, they wore the heel in that time frame. You know, you had a little bit more broader of a list, but I don't know that there's a definite bad list unless it's like, you know, I mean,
Bobby Heenan.
Yeah, again, man. Yeah.
He was a heel when he was a wrestler, and then he was a heel as a manager.
Fred Blassie was another one. Just, I mean, Captain Lou, when he was bad with the Samoans, man, dude, they're nasty, man. Well, we can go on forever and ever on this, but we need to switch over to AEW. Let's finish a couple questions here. Cap for Life says, you guys remember when me and Gene was interviewing the Iron Sheik, and there was a turkey in a cage, and the Iron Sheik was calling Hulk Hogan? Yeah. Dude, Iron Sheik was great, dude. For you know, Cap for Life also asked what happened to Marty Jannetty. He went through the glass, and he's had his demons. I'll just put it that way. He's had
Shawn Michaels happened. That's what happened to Marty Jannetty.
Yeah, he's had his demons. They said Brutus Beefcake, the Barber, DiBiase, and Virgil. Everyone has a price. $1 million title was Legend, bro. We got to do top 5 heel managers soon. That'd be a good one. Yeah. You can't give us your top 5, Armando, right? So you say it. Yeah, let's get there. Oh, Karen finally jumped in because the AEW is coming up. Cap for Life says it's a legit list. And then Karen with the AEW. Frankie Frezko's already got it on the thing. It is now time, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. AEW himself.
Let's go.
Frankie Frezko.
CM Punk time, baby, right? CM Punk time? No, not CM Punk time. All right, so let's talk a little bit about AEW. I know it's hard, man. I know we want to continue. I want to thank everybody on the comments. I know all you guys enjoyed that list. We're gonna see. This is the reason why we did it, Sean. This is the reason why we did it, because I'm gonna come up with more and more of these lists. But moving on. AEW. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on with AEW. Hey, tell me what's going on with this blind tag team eliminator tournament. We keep getting these random guys, technically random. So they put these balls inside a little, like, I don't know, spinning wheel, and they randomly get picked, and boom, they become tag team. Now, I will tell you this. AEW has done a pretty good job with this. I don't think I've ever seen this from WWE. I might be mistaken, but I don't think I've ever seen this where they randomly got in.
Yeah, no, they don't have to reach like this so much. No,
But I don't.
WCW did. WCW did.
I think WCW did. Yes, but you don't have to like it. It's
but theirs was even better. Theirs was called Battle Brawl, and you had a random tag team tournament, and then the winners all went into a battle royal at the end, and then they fought for a title shot.
Okay, all right.
That was a little bit of difference.
But I mean, I think they've hit the mark, and I wrote some of these guys down, man. They've had some. So they had Keith Lee and Swerve, and obviously Keith Lee and Swerve, they put them together because of the whole, battle that they've had a couple of times. They used to be tag team partners, and then they kind of went their different ways. They had Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin. That one was more of like, kind of like the home run type of team. You don't expect them to go against each other per se. Sammy Guevara and Danny Garcia. Danny with the
God, who would a blind draw, and they got the same tag team partners. I mean, same with Darby and Orange.
I love the fact that they have Sammy and they had Danny together, and then obviously his dancing skills. That was pretty cool. Brian Cage and Big Bill, both of them, and that's gonna be actually tomorrow night with the main one, right? The main one, Adam Cole and MJF.
MJF won't be there, by the way. He's sick. He's taking the night off.
So what's gonna happen? Can Adam Cole beat these two guys, or will MJF still show up? I think MJF is still gonna show up. Now let me ask you this, because this is what I liked about the AEW. You're actually starting to get invested with MJF, not only as a heel, but as a good guy type of persona character. The whole little segments that they've had, the segments of them going to the gym together, him working out, calling the chubby guy Tony Schiavone, the whole thingy of his birthday, because last week it was Adam Cole's birthday. The I'm better than you, baby. I'm better than you, baby. Come on, that's classic. I mean,
shirts.
What do you think about that? I think they nailed it with that. They made it funny, and they put two guys that were already kind of gonna go against each other, and eventually this is leading up. I think that's where they're doing a really good job with their storyline, is that they've been able to kind of twist and turn and make this relevant and funny at the same time. What do you think about that combination and MJF's role in this particular tag team?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I like MJF, and I think the fact that he's such a good heel allows him to really run with this, because it almost, you're waiting almost every week for him just to be like, and kick him. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're waiting for that. Okay, here we know it's coming. That's the thing. It's like you're sitting here waiting, and he's just doing it so well to where, and again, he's doing it, and it's not the same weasel way as Dominic does. It's that, but he knows where he's going to pick his spot. You know what I'm saying? Like he has that thing. Like, no, I know exactly what I'm doing here. You could see, and that's the part that you love to love and love to hate. It's that, it goes back to the whole thing to where nowadays there's no heel and there's no face.
That's true.
It's a gray area. You know what I'm saying? Like he's, to me, he's almost getting the same response, except he's not getting booed when he's talking to Adam Cole anymore. He's getting cheered or laughing, depending on what the situation dictates. So, it's just one of those things where it's like,
I love the fact that he went on Adam Cole's Twitch twice.
Yeah, twice. Yep.
So
it's one of those things to where, and again, it allows them time, because again, their next pay-per-view is not till All Out, which is the beginning of September. I don't know if they're counting All In at Wembley as a pay-per-view. So if they do count that one, that's the week before. So, but either way, you still got 7 weeks before your next premium live event. 7 weeks of TV. You've got to string it out.
Yep.
I don't like this blind eliminator tournament because to me, this was an opportunity to possibly get some people maybe that haven't been on that you maybe wanted to get on. But instead you pick, hey, here's Orange and Darby as partners. Oh, we didn't see that 2 weeks ago. And they get picked automatically. And then it's like, hey, Adam Cole and MJF. I was like, okay, that one I can go with. And then it was like the next one they picked, I forgot, was
they had Matt Hardy and Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, no, that one was one of the other ones too, was outside. Then they picked Swerve and
Keith Lee.
Strickland, and Keith Lee. But who they versed in the first round? Oh no, they versed Darby. No, that was the second round. Darby and
I thought that was the first one.
Was that the first round?
Yeah, I think that was the first one.
Okay, all right.
Could be wrong. There's a couple. I mean,
I felt that you could have mixed this up a little bit more.
The thing about
it's like, like Bill and Brian Cage, like that's not it's a good tag team. Don't get me wrong, but
it creates a really good match for tomorrow.
Well, yeah, because again, they know the angles they're going for. I just didn't like the fact that you're going to tell me it's blind eliminator, and it just so happens you drew MJF and Adam Cole at the same time, and then you drove Swerve and Keith Lee at the same time. I get what you're trying to do because you're going to try to make the Swerve and Keith Lee thing go again. Smart, but it's just again, it's kind of one of those things to where it's like, don't call it a blind eliminator tournament. You should just had people draw. And if you draw whatever or something, just something else though to me. It just
I think you're being a little bit picky there. Come on, man. We know what they're doing. We know that they're
don't call it a blind draw eliminator though. That just makes no sense to me.
Okay,
you have 190 people on your roster, and you've got Sammy and Daniel Garcia from the same group together.
They could have
Orange in there together, and then all of a sudden you got Swerve and Keith Lee. You've got it just you should just call it Tony Khan's draw.
Well, I thought it was creative. I thought
it was creative to a point, but what is the end game?
Well, like you said, they got to kill time, and I think they did a good job killing time because it created matches that weren't expected. I think Adam Cole and MJF versus Big Bill and Brian Cage is a match that
it's created time. What you need to do is start creating things that are going to get buzz.
There was they did have one where they had the Butcher and Magic from the Jericho Appreciation. Yeah. That was kind of like a different one. So I see what Tony Khan did. He did some that were kind of like, hey, out of the blue, that were not like Matt Hardy and Jeff Jarrett. You would never see that come. But then you also had the ones that kind of like went with the storylines that were already been used before. Adam Cole, MJF, Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, and then Keith Lee and Swerve. And then they were able to put Darby in talking to Keith saying, hey, bring it and stuff like that, because there was kind of like some little tension between those two, Darby and Keith Lee. So it made sense. I get the name. I get that you're saying that's a blind eliminator, but if you look at it right now, there's nothing online. I tried looking online to see who are some of
I can see is the last results from the last
week.
Because I couldn't remember all of the teams, and I was like trying to remember everybody. Look, it's a creative idea, but again, I don't think it's creating enough buzz though. Like why couldn't you have drawn Andrade or Miro or somebody from
remember what I told you about the Collision. They have to keep those rosters separate, and I think that's one of the reasons why. I like the fact that they've been doing that
separate. You had them there the 2 weeks ago.
Well, you saw what Malachi Black and the House of Black said. They're not going to do any more Dynamite. They're going to do only Collision. I know that it's also because of Selena, but still, it's good to have him. So that way, when you go to Dynamite show, you know you're going to be able to see House of Black. You know you're only going to be able to see CM Punk, because those guys are just for that particular show. And I had this conversation with my brother. It's all about that exclusivity type of mentality. It's exclusive. You want, like our boy exclusive from CCW. My bad. I'm diverting. Um um uh Basically is you're making it the shows very, very like, hey, this one is catered to these wrestlers, this one's catered for that one. WWE does it with SmackDown, WWE does it with Raw. We were talking about this. I had this debate with my brother about the whole NBA tournament in between and all that stuff. And I was telling him, I was like, look, man, in soccer, it's different. There's such huge fan bases. There's so diehard soccer fans in there that you could get away with a tournament like that. In the NBA, I feel like there has to be more to it. It has to be more exclusive. And what they were doing, which is kind of a good idea, was when my brother went and said, "Hey, they're only showing tournament matches on Tuesdays and Thursdays." I said, "Yes, that's good. Those are things." It's like for my soccer fans out there, Champions League, Europa League. There's only certain days that they play these matches. It makes the thing very like private. Like, I'm a Dolphin season ticket holder. I remember when they asked me, Frankie, go to the Dolphins with my brother, and what do you want as a season ticket holder? Hey, I want to be treated like VIP. I'm supposed to be different than the general public because I pay more for it. So that's kind of like the idea that I have for Collision, and that's kind of like the idea that I have for Dynamite. You got to keep the roster separated. You got to sell Collision for what it is. I don't want to go to Dynamite because I don't want to see CM Punk and Dynamite and then see CM Punk again on Collision. You need to keep them separated. It's the only way you're going to get fans to go to both shows, in particularly because AEW has not been doing so great when it comes to the fans coming to the shows. That's why I feel, in my opinion, they have to keep doing it. They got to stick to basically, once I find what's the stick, they will. Yes, once they find their stick, they're gonna stick to it. They're gonna go ahead. They have to separate it. It's gonna take time. It's not something that's gonna happen from one day to the other. It has to be separated. Keep it like that. People are gonna enjoy it. Just give it time. And I know that you don't agree with me, and we could actually move. We could talk about the Chris Jericho, Don Callis. I'm gonna skip a little bit to the A Dynamite. I'm sorry for the TV ratings for Collision, and since we're talking about one and the other. AEW Collision. So week 1 they had 816,000 viewership. Second week they had 595. Third week they had 452, where they dropped a lot, and then this week the numbers came out for this past Saturday. They jumped back up to 580,000 views, which was number 5 on the cable rating. Actually, the UFC on ESPN, the prelims was the number 1 at the time, at 8:00. So technically, the third best show right now. And I think the reason the third week it struggled a little bit was because CM Punk didn't wrestle. I understand, and we were going to talk about this about TK and how what should he do to change it up. And now that, since we're talking about both shows and we're talking about the whole way of going about business with AEW.
Yeah. And then one thing I want to throw out, because I saw this right before I came on. Sean Ross Sapp over at Fightful Select. It looks like WBD, Warner Brothers Discovery, they're not really worried about numbers. They're worried about rankings. And right now they're happy with where their shows are ranking. They're number 3. Even on their bad days, they were like 5, I think, on the Saturdays and things like that. So, and then I'll just read the last thing. It says the WBD source did confirm what we've heard in the past, and the deal would be a huge money increase for AEW by the way things are looking now. So, just so you know, it looks like the money, the TV rights deal, everything.
And I agree 100% with Karen. I agree with 100% with Karen. If you saw Collision this past week, I'm gonna tell you something. It's a good show. It's not bad. They were in sequence. Again, the Ricky Stark versus Hobbs, and you haven't seen Hobbs. I think Hobbs was in Rampage, but Hobbs versus Ricky Stark was a good fight. The Samoa Joe versus CM Punk was a really good fight. The Juice Robinson, Jay White versus FTR was a good fight. The segment
you just listed like pay-per-view matches, man.
No,
You're not going to have that on every Collision.
No, but I mean, you still have like that they could go ahead and push that Samoa Joe CM Punk fight after they're done with the Owen Hart tournament. They could do a really really good job with that because at the end of the day, that fight delivered. And I don't know about you, but I am excited about Twisted Metal, and I think Samoa Joe is gonna blow up with that Twisted Metal because he's the clown on that Twisted Metal show. I think AEW needs to sell that. I think AEW needs to go ahead and try to incorporate it in some way. Obviously, if there's not like copyright issues or anything like that, I would actually even ask them if I could use the mask and put it on when I come into the wrestling match. I think that would be amazing for Samoa Joe. I think Samoa Joe can really really blow up because of that show. People are gonna know who Samoa Joe is because of him in that show. That is what separates yourself from other individuals. And I think AEW has an opportunity to gain more fans just off of that. Because The Rock did it. Cena, I mean, look at Cena. He's always on these shows as well. He's doing a couple movies recently.
Can I tell you something, though?
Go ahead.
Where was The Rock before he went to Hollywood?
No, the Rock was well known already.
Okay,
but he blew up.
What I'm saying, yes, but what I'm saying though is you're sitting here trying to say, oh, people will know Samoa Joe from being in that thing. They need to start knowing who Samoa Joe is from AEW.
Well, people know
from ROH or whatever. I mean, that's the problem. That's the problem AEW is facing right now.
But this is the thing. This is what I feel is the issue with AEW and WWE. You're looking at AEW, and AEW, in my opinion, focuses more on the wrestling side. Storylines are getting better. I'm not gonna lie. Collision storylines are getting better. What Karen says that the heels are selling it for Collision is true. I mean, the fact that House of Black is doing the thing with El Idolo and stealing his mask and everything, that is creative. You're looking at the simple fact of Miro, how they're pushing Miro as well. He came out saying that he has something lined up, something big. Those are things that are actually selling it. And the wrestling, I know some of the moves they mess up. I know that Ricky Stark and Hobbs had a couple of like bad moves. I know the FTR, Jay White, Juice Robinson fight, they had a couple of messed up moves. But again, it's wrestling. It's what I signed up for. The casual fan, you want to get entertained, go watch a 40-minute segment of the Bloodline. That's the difference. And Tony Khan is a diehard wrestling fan as well. So he's not going to give you a 40-minute segment. I don't care how big it is when it comes to this. He's not. He's going to focus on wrestling. And if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm hearing that CM Punk is giving input on AEW Collision shows, that he's actually giving them ideas and helping them out. And he's trying to get a Collision and have his people actually like him, because I know he left with a bad taste the first time. So I'm hearing good things about CM Punk making his way. Jay White is very good, like Karen is saying, very good for Collision. I like the wrestling, man. I know you're not gonna get the entertainment side. And you're not. You want entertainment wrestling? Go watch WWE. I'm not saying that WWE sucks, but if you want entertainment, there's a reason why they're called entertainment. It's WWE, not AEW. AEW is wrestling with a little bit of, entertainment here and there.
Yeah, but you just said, what was your favorite things about Wednesday right now with MJF and Adam Cole? It's the stuff that's not happening in the ring.
No, I said also that I like the fact that they're doing the blind eliminator.
But that is entertainment, though. That's the entertainment aspect.
Yeah, but they're not going 40-minute long.
Balance between wrestling and entertainment, a good balance. That's what they need to find.
You could do a small segment just like MJF and Adam Cole did. But are you gonna run a segment of 40, 50 minutes of Adam Cole and MJF talking about like whatever their rivalry is, like the Bloodline and stuff like that? You're not gonna see that in AEW. I'm sorry, you're not. Maybe because they can't get it to that. I mean, the storylines in WWE are way better. I'm not gonna lie to you, but still, it's like that. That's why we see things differently. And I'm not trying to pick on WWE because I like WWE. I tune into WWE. I'm even watching NXT. I mean, for the love of God, I want Dominic Mysterio to win the NXT belt, and I hope he wins it. I hope he challenges this guy. and keep me up to date. I see you looking over this. So keep me up
that's
to date.
happening.
But at the same time, I have to give Dynamite. I have to give Dynamite. I have to give Collision more of the benefit of the doubt. I like their wrestling. I know they don't hit all their marks. I know they sometimes make blunders. I know they sometimes don't wrestle. I mean, the this fight, Ruby Soho and Britt Baker wasn't the greatest match. You could tell that Britt Baker wasn't 100% back when she wrestled her, and it was a tough match to watch. But it was still wrestling. I still saw what they were trying to do. I don't have to go and see Becky Lynch. And remember, Becky Lynch is one of my favorite ones. Go ahead and start chit-chatting a whole bunch with Trish Stratus 24/7 and all this stuff. And all. I just don't. I see it differently. I think there's a difference between AEW and WWE. And I think that's the reason why I like AEW a lot more than WWE. It's the fact that they put more time and emphasis on wrestling. I mean, for the love of God, they did a show, Forbidden Door pay-per-view, that lasted 5 hours? I mean, tell me when. I know it's a lot, but they cater to the fans, to the wrestling fans. WWE caters to the casual fans. It's gonna get ratings because it's a casual fan base. They're not gonna go ahead and cater to wrestling. You can't. If you put wrestling, if you cut down the segments of WWE. I mean, look, if you look at Monday Night's show, they had the graduation thing for Maxine. They had the whole Cody Rhodes coming out and talking about, Brock Lesnar all over again and all that stuff. They had a couple things with the Judgment Day where they were going back and forth for what they wanted to do and all that stuff. But they had the little segment of that tag team, Ansu Far, whatever that I forgot that team. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Indus
Indus. There you go. Indus. It's. I mean, they have the Grayson thing, the Grayson effect on SmackDown every single time. I mean, Miz TV I haven't seen Miz TV in a while, but they've had that before. I mean, look at that. Look at that fight between Miz and Ciampa. That was good. I want to see more of that. I don't want to see so much that story stuff. Like, it's okay here and there, but
do you know what the story was leading up to that whole thing there, or you think they just went out and did a match? They've been building that up for a month.
And in that aspect, WWE does a better job as far as like dragging the stories.
It's not dragging the stories. It's getting people invested, man. If I just want to go watch wrestling, I'll pay $20 and go to an indie show. But I can watch wrestling whenever, man.
Some of these indie shows actually even now have storylines themselves. So what are you talking about?
Exactly. So they're putting the entertainment in it too as well.
And I'm not saying that AEW is not putting the entertainment on it, but they're just not dragging it up. They're not going ahead and putting a 40-minute segment of the Bloodline.
You say they got to put 40 minutes, but damn it, tell me what the hell's going on sometimes.
They have the Adam Cole MJF storyline is working well. The House of Black El Idolo is working well as well.
Yeah, what happened though? They had them wrestle, and then they attacked him afterwards, right? They started telling the story. They laid out the story. They took his mask. They put an emphasis on making you invest in the story.
I just feel at the end of the day,
if you just throw two guys out there to wrestle, it's two guys out there to wrestle. Yeah, they're gonna have a great match, great. But you have to show. It's got to be something, man. I mean, hold on. Karen says, Sean, you have to understand and respect what AEW is doing. No, I can understand it and respect it all I want, but it's still not helping anything. I get it. Warner Brothers is okay as long as they're making the top 5 in the brackets. But what happens when football season starts and college football starts and you got shows and everything and they're not doing top 5s? Then what happens? Because that starts in about a month, by the way.
But your AEW fans, if they continue to do what they do in Collision, they're gonna still have fans, and they're gonna average around that. They're not gonna get 1 million views because it's on a Saturday. People don't watch wrestling as much on Saturdays, but the talent is there. The storylines are better in Collision. I like Collision better than Dynamite, to be honest with you, because I feel.
I'm not saying that's not wrong. I like Collision better than anything I've seen so far. With the the small sample size area, because I think the one thing they do on AEW, and where you're saying the heel are part of this, is because they're making you understand and entertaining you, because the heels are making you, again.
Yeah, but like Karen has said, they're entertainers, bro. Tell me the last time Roman Reigns has gone out there and fought, man. He had to fight in Money in the Bank. When was the last time he fought in SmackDown? When?
And he's still relevant, right? He's still at the top of the damn chain. That tells you people are invested in him, though.
They are. The casual fan is invested in him.
Who can you take from AEW and do the same thing with?
To get him to that level? MJF?
Anybody.
MJF. You could definitely do that with MJF. I don't see why MJF could not be one of the biggest heels in
I'm not saying he couldn't be.
In
right
WWE.
Now, you can have anybody on AEW not wrestle and still stay as relevant as what Roman Reigns has stayed.
MJF.
Yeah, I go with MJF.
MJF has able to do that. Probably Chris Jericho. They did a lot of when he had the Inner Circle. He didn't have to fight every single time, and he was doing the whole Inner Circle stuff online. The whole,
So then why don't you focus more on them then?
Because you have to go ahead and they do. They're doing the turn on. I mean, they're doing that whole story now with Don Callis and Chris Jericho, which I like. That's different. We haven't seen.
Which they're explaining, right? They're doing segments to explain what they're doing. Right? They're doing a little bit of entertainment so you understand what's going on.
But there's not.
This is a damn great concept.
And there is no problem with giving a little bit of entertainment. Look at that. You broke your headset.
Yeah. Broke my headphone.
I didn't break it. You broke it. And the reason you broke it is because, again, you're giving credit for 40-minute segments of the Bloodline. Get out of here. I can't do that. I can't.
Those 40 minutes beat any damn thing that's been on AEW.
No, it does not. For the casual fan. For the fan who wants to
let me break down the ratings and the other stuff. But what I'm saying...
It's not only about ratings.
What the fuck? What do you think they're doing? Coupons? It's fucking carnival now. Bring your ticket. Hop on. Bring your ticket. Sit down. We don't need no money. Sit down. We'll hand out shirts. Here, you have a shirt. You have a shirt. Hey, it's joint night. Wear a freaking nose. I mean, it's not about ratings.
For me and you know it's not about ratings. It's about wrestling. And you know deep down inside that wrestling is done. Look at Forbidden Door. It was all wrestling. There was no damn segments and gimmicks and stuff like that, man. They pure wrestling that people enjoyed watching. And there was a reason why that pay-per-view has been their best pay-per-view.
Karen, stop with the they've been here forever stuff. I understand they've been here longer than they, but at the same time, AEW started out a house of fire. The first 2 years, they were averaging 1.1, 1.2. Then that whole thing stopped, and then they dropped below 800. Now they can't rise back above it.
But you're making it seem like
they do about winning or anything. What I'm talking about is the product is not resonating with people.
But you're making it seem like AEW has gone ahead and dropped to the ground. They only lost 200,000 fans from watching. Big deal, because they're averaging 800 in Dynamite. That's what they're usually averaging. And I'm pretty sure if they put CM Punk on a Wednesday, which I don't want them to do, but when he was on CM Punk on Wednesdays, they were averaging again over 1 million.
Right. So how much are tickets? How much are tickets for a show?
For like an AEW show?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they could run from like $40 all the way to I don't know $300, $400, $500.
Okay, so how much of those 200,000 do you think was some of that money? Some of those tickets?
I don't know. Maybe some of them were. I'm pretty sure there was.
I mean, I'm not saying, but at the same time, it's like, bro, you can't sit there and tell me that it doesn't matter. It does, man.
I said the ratings don't matter to you and me because we're the hardcore wrestling fans. So we're gonna go ahead and like and distinguish what we like and what we don't like about AEW. Obviously, I like the wrestling. I don't like all those segments, all those promos, all that stuff that they do in WWE consistently. I don't want to watch. That's why, look, man, I respect WWE. They've been they've been in wrestling for years to come. They have the right product. I'm not gonna lie, but for me, the wrestler, the person that I've been the wrestling fan that I've been watching this for so many years, when I see a breath of fresh air is when I see, hey, no segments of 40 minutes long. I don't want to see that. I
They
don't
did
want
one 40-minute segment this week, and you've been on this for 2 hours now.
Because that thing bothered me, and it's not the only.
It bothered you, but guess what? It added to the story.
It added to the story. It was it same. Oh wow, the tribal chief goes and gives this guy, hey, I'm gonna give it to you, and then all of a sudden, oops, sorry, no, let me give you a low blow. I'm still the tribal chief. I'm still the main guy. Come on, we all knew that was coming. He wasn't gonna go ahead and just give it to him. Bring me something relevant.
Wait. So using your stuff against you here, we all know MJF's gonna turn on Adam Cole, right? We know that's coming, right?
Yeah, but we know that they're not doing a 40-minute segment about how he's turning on Adam Cole.
Because it's not built up that much to where they can do a 40-minute segment on it. They did a great 5-10 minutes on it the other night, though.
The moment AEW starts doing 40-minute segments, I'll probably stop watching it. Because that's not the type of fan that I am. I prefer watching the wrestling. Yes, I like the indie shows. You're absolutely right. I'll go to an indie show. I've been to indie shows where I could watch a show for 3-4 hours. I've done it before. I mean, I went to AEW and saw a show for 4 hours. And I said, yo, the only reason I got tired at the end because I was like, yo, I'm hungry. I got to go. And it's too expensive to freaking buy food at this arena. So let's go grab something to eat. But I've been to shows where I've been over 4 or 5 hours of wrestling. I've done it before. It's not like I'm not the person who's gonna go ahead and I'm not the casual fan. I like the wrestling, and that's why I like AEW better than WWE.
Yes, but at some point though, they have to resonate with some of the casual fans.
They do.
If you want to start doing sponsorship deals and things like that, you've got to start getting with the more casual fan. There's a reason why the other day, the Money in the Bank, every damn one of them, whatever was, here's the cheers to the, who was it, Bud Light or whatever, because they know people are watching the product. So they can, every little thing is sponsored. You think they don't make money on that?
Oh, no, I get you. I get you that they need to have more people come in. Ticket sales need to sell out. They need to do a lot better because that's the only way they're going to be able to keep being relevant and be able to pay their bills. Because if you don't have money coming in and you only have money dishing out, you're going to go out of business. I understand that. I'm not denying that. But what I'm saying is, again, for me, I don't think AEW needs to do a 40-minute promo to gain the casual fan. They're doing a better job with their storylines.
40-minute spot like that unless you have people invested into the angle that you're doing. I mean, it ain't like they're throwing, Cody Rhodes and Dominic out there for 40 minutes. No, they threw the bloodline angle out there because that is what is resonating on SmackDown right now.
I don't know. We're just not going to see eye to eye when it comes to that. And I honestly feel that Tony Khan, what he's doing, in my opinion, is what he's doing with Collision is the right thing. It's a good show. It's not a bad show. I think they have they're doing good storylines. They're doing good wrestling. And like Karen has said, you just need to go ahead and give it time. People will tune in. People are going to keep watching. Like I said, I've enjoyed watching all their shows. I haven't missed one. And I'm already invested more in Collision than in Dynamite. And one of the reasons why I also like Collision, why I think it's successful, is because they're not doing all that blood stuff. I'm getting tired of that stuff. You need to get that stuff. Sometimes there's some certain wrestlers that you don't have to give them that much. And you said it. I'll give you that. That sometimes they do go overboard and they give wrestlers too much autonomy. And they get to say what they want to do, and et cetera, et cetera. Like Jon Moxley. He has no business to be deciding what to do and what not to do with his character. They need to control him.
Tony Khan needs to become more of, and this was where I was going to go with earlier, with Vince McMahon. Again, there was supposedly going to be a meeting with Nick Khan and Triple H and Vince McMahon about making changes so late and everything else. But the changes that Vince is making are to the timing and the order of the show. He's not making creative changes. So I believe what he's done is he's actually taken a step back from the creative. And yes, he's gotten annoying with the way he's been changing so late. But this past Raw, he didn't. and the past SmackDown was done by Thursday. But he's taken a step back. I almost feel like, man, Tony Khan needs to nail down and be like, okay, here's my squad. These are the guys I'm going to listen to, and stay away from being, the fan. He needs to be the boss, man. He needs to be the boss. And not saying that he doesn't do it all the time, but there comes times where he's like, oh, wow, okay, yeah. And he lets them because of who they are. And sometimes you just got to say, no, man. No, we're not doing this. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the part where I think a lot of the AEW thing is now, because a lot of these guys are like, they talk to the producer. I can't do that. Okay, let me go talk to Tony.
Yeah.
And then Tony like, oh, it's going to be good. That'll be great for TV or whatever. And then so things are getting changed and things like that. You've got to stop that, man. You can't have. You got to believe in your producers. You got to believe in your team. You got to believe in everybody else, and just you run the. If you have to run the production from the gorilla position like he does every week, if that's what he needs to do, that's fine. Let him do it. I mean, Vince did it for years. Triple H does it. Pritchard's doing it now when Triple H isn't there. That's where they run the program from. I get that. But he needs to step back and remember that this is him. This is his stuff. He said the EVP thing is garbage. That's not going to work. After about 3-4 months into it, he's like, no, this ain't going to work because we're not doing it this way. We're going to do it my way. And I think for the first 2 years, they had a plan. Tony Khan said he mapped out the first 2 years. He knew who his first 4 champions were going to be. He knew exactly what he was going to do. I feel like after it left there, though, that's where everything kind of got, and then the brawl out or whatever, and then Cody leaving, and a lot of things happened in between there to where you got to step back and take a look and see what you got. Do you want me to share this?
No, not yet. Okay. I just put it on there that way we could, because I know that we've been talking about AEW, so we're gonna probably switch it up. But last thing that we're gonna mention about AEW is obviously Nick Wayne. He's finally making his debut tomorrow against Swerve Strickland. I like the fact that on Wednesday they actually gave a backstory of Nick Wayne with Darby Allin, and how, the whole Buddy Wayne was, the trainer, and how Buddy Wayne passed away, had a heart attack, and then obviously there was a kid left over, which was Darby Allin, Buddy Wayne's son, which was Nick Wayne, and then that's when Darby Allin said, "Yo, we're gonna bring him over to AEW," because they used to all wrestle in the same wrestling area. So I thought they did a really good job with that, and I'm excited. I think Nick Wayne is gonna be a good asset to AEW. I think the kid is talented, and I think hopefully that he reminds me of Dante Martin. He's another like kind of Dante Martin type of wrestler.
Yeah. I just wish they would have. I love this fact they did the backstory. That's something they don't do all the time with everything. But I wish they would have shown a little more of him in the ring so you can see what he brings to. Because I get the backstory and the Darby Allin and all that stuff. But man, dude, if you get to watch him in action, you've seen his matches. The dude's good, man. He's good. And the only thing is, he's not that big. He's not that big, but man, that's one of those things. The only thing I don't like though too is like I think he's versus Swerve. Like I think I saw it on here.
I don't know. He's going against Swerve tomorrow.
Like I just feel like that's the one where you kind of that's the guy that faces AR Fox or Action Andretti or your first match, not Swerve Strickland.
There's a reason why they did it that way, was because maybe they should have shown that when Swerve fought him in an indie show, and Swerve came out telling Nick Wayne, "Hey, look, once you make your way over to AEW, I want to be your first fight," because it was such a good fight between both of them.
I didn't know all that. I know they fought on the independent scene. I knew they had fought, but I didn't know there was that comment made. So that makes it okay. That makes it a little bit more.
But again, you're right. That maybe they could have added that. Maybe they could have probably done that in their like Twitter account or Instagram account.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they were so
that
good
I agree.
Too. using their social media. Now that's kind of
They have kind of
when they pay-per-views and during Dynamites and everything, it's great. But they don't like I think ever since they don't have to do the AEW dark and dark elevation now. Like those are the things I think you could post on YouTube, like little
and not only that, but the little
about some of these guys that are coming in and some of the things like that.
The also like I do miss like some of the stuff that like the Inner Circle used to do. Remember when the Inner Circle used to do like there's those crazy little takes and they would put them on Instagram and on Twitter and on TikTok.
That's because
they were
Sammy Guevara did his vlog and
and the
blog. Adam Page had his blog. Not Adam Page. I'm sorry, Ethan Page had his blog. That's one of the things they've gotten away from.
Yeah.
By the way, it ended up being a tag team match. Damian
Priest. I'm watching it. I have it here on my phone, so I'm seeing Dominic get a chair. I like it. I hope he does something. We'll see. See, I like him getting. Oh, there you go.
Karen says, "I want to see Swerve get a push."
I do feel like Swerve does need a push from here to there. I think he's very talented, and I love his entrance. So it really makes. I think they should push him, but again, I don't see. You know what? I think for tomorrow, I do see Nick Wayne losing. I have Nick Wayne losing, and I think he's gonna. I wish. I mean, the thing is that it's so hard because the kid is supposed to be new and he can't be a bad guy. Because it would be great if Swerve. This is me just thinking outside the box. Swerve beats him and then says, "Yo, come join my crew," and then make him like a bad heel. But it's too early because he's just so young. He's too young, and he doesn't seem like it would make sense to go ahead and turn him into a heel right away. So
yeah, I think ultimately, I mean, if you turn him heel, it's got to be a storyline with Darby.
Yeah, like he has to betray Darby or something like that.
The way to be the whole thing. I would believe, man. But
you know what?
I'm gonna talk that.
You know what they could do? This is what they could do. They could end the fight with like a DQ, like a no contest or something. That's what they should do. That way, it doesn't hurt Nick and it doesn't hurt Swerve. But I think Swerve is.
I'm trying to think like Swerve. Who's he been feuding with recently?
I mean, after Keith Lee, I don't think he's had anybody in particular.
And Darby's been Swerve with who now?
Darby was
who's that?
Darby was with I think it was with Sammy. No, yeah, it was with Sammy.
But when Sting came back? Oh, it was Jericho. It was Jericho and Sammy. Yeah, you're right. That's who they've been.
Yeah, but right. they kind of went away from that now. But you saw how Jericho was saying, "Yo, like you guys got to do your own thing," and he left Sammy and Danny by himself. So. I think they kind of went away from Sammy. I
was just trying to figure out where Darby. I'm trying to think of like down the line, where does Darby go? As far as because right now he's in this blind eliminator tournament with Orange, and they beat Swerve and Keith Lee. So I was trying to figure out how maybe Darby somehow. I think it's going to end up being Darby and Swerve.
Hopefully.
Because I think what's going to happen is like Nick Wayne's going to be getting the better of him. And then, like you said, I think it's going to be a no contest, but it's more of a disqualification.
Yeah.
And then Darby will come out for the save to save Nick Wayne.
I think that would be good. I think that's something that.
And then ultimately, I think what maybe happens is like Nick Wayne gets tired of Darby coming to save him all the time. And then you can.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You can kind of force, you can kind of make that the reason. I don't know. I mean, I don't see them turning him heel the first night. That's the only thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
But again,
too early. Plus, he's too young.
Yeah, I mean, he just turned 18, so
yeah,
he had to wait till 18 to get the contract.
But besides that, I mean, we've been going at it a minute here for an AEW. There's one last thing we want to do. It's kind of like a quick takes, and our quick takes are going to be about indie show wrestling. I wanted to kind of give the word of how it works in the indie show, little segments of stuff that we've heard from indies, and it's a work in progress. I know Sean and myself are working on getting more and more guests and more involved in the indie shows, trying to do maybe even do some of the shows at some of the CCW events and stuff like that. I was at CCW about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I was there for Bash at the Brew. Shout out to my boy Boss B. I saw him out there.
Oh, good
Uh,
deal.
he was out there. It was nice to hang out with him. I had a couple of drinks with him and took a couple of photos with him, and then obviously my brother was out there as well, and it was a good show. So before we go a little bit into what happened in Bash at the Beach, Bash at the Brew, sorry, Bash at the Beach, Bash at the Brew. Couple of side notes. So, Asha D. Ambrose, she injured her ankle during indie show in France. How do you pronounce this? Association Le
Le
Professionnel du
Professionnels du Catch.
So she injured her ankle pretty badly. In Apocalypse 6 was the name of the show, and unfortunately, coincidentally, she had just gotten engaged the night before. So then after that, she had the injury to her ankle. They say it could be a career-ending injury. I hope it
It's
isn't.
hard. Ankles are a bad area. It just depends on how it heals and then what the actual injury was. Was it a clean break? Because again, one of the things that a lot of guys do is like what Tua did with the titanium, but it depends also on what your insurance and doctors will allow you to do. Because I'm sure whoever the Association Las Professionals du Catch was not paying for the insurance.
No, absolutely not. And then the other thing was that she was actually, I think she's on the verge of getting signed by AEW. So that kind of put a hamper on her getting signed with AEW. On another take, Ricardo Rodriguez. If you guys know who Ricardo is, Ricardo Rodriguez.
Alberto Del Rio.
Yes, sir. So that guy, where has that guy gone? I haven't seen him in a minute. So Ricardo Rodriguez is in Major League Wrestling, and he's taking a new role. He's actually going to be wrestling, but he's also going to be a producer on the show. So it's
he's running a school too. He was running a school. He was doing his own stuff. Then he got a job outside of wrestling that was doing very well, and now I guess he's back into the wrestling world. I know him and Alberto had been doing some stuff in Mexico when he was doing El Patron or whatever his name, whatever is over
there. Awesome. Last couple of notes. Alex Chamberlain, he was at Bash at the Brew.
This guy's on fire, buddy. He's on fire.
He burned Ricardo Martinez on the face.
That's not Ricky Martinez, right? That's
it's Ricky Martinez.
Oh, okay.
His real name is Ricardo, but Ricky Martinez, and then obviously on the show we also had Cha-Cha Charlie in the main event. And then I wanted to share this. So this is the reason why. Cap, we see you. Have a good night, my brother. Sean, if you could share this with me, I guess. That way we could go ahead and show it.
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons why. So I'm going to try to see if I could show you guys this. This was something that actually pulled up. I know Cha-Cha, if he checks out the show. Thank you for showing us the show. There it is. It was Let me see if you guys could see it. Can you see it, Sean?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So Cha-Cha's in the fight right there, and you see that little kid, and the little kid, he's wearing a Miami Dolphins shirt too, which is amazing. Attacks the wrestler. He kind of slapped him on the head, and
okay.
And then it was, and then you see him come back. I don't recall his what is his name? Mario Pardua. I think it's Mario Pardua is his wrestling. And then he goes to him and he's like, "Yo, like back off." And then that guy behind him is his father. So that was one of the things I wanted to show you.
All right, so here you go. Here's the little kid right there. Hit him. Yeah.
So that was something that was trending as well. Of the kid hitting. And what do you think about that, man? What do you think about
It's tough, man, with the little kids in independent wrestling, because like, for instance, the easiest way to get heat in a crowd, yell at a kid, because the kid's gonna do one of two things. Either gonna yell back and the crowd's gonna go crazy for it, or he's gonna sulk and the crowd's still gonna go crazy for it, because then you're a jackass for making a kid cry. So so it's tough, because, and again, man, I mean, I've done stuff where I had guys hold me open so kids could chop me. You know what I'm saying? But also I told
him.
Yeah, I told him, you the guy in front, you like hit him in the chest. Make sure they're not punching me in the face. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got guys you trust to do that stuff with. There's been stuff. I mean, we do the Christmas tree matches where people bring weapons wrapped in gift and wrapping paper, and you use them as weapons. I mean, we've had. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. But again, that's where independent wrestling is a little different. If you would have done that at a WWE, AEW show, you and your family are being escorted out.
Absolutely, because that's something that you would not go ahead and really go and go above and beyond. I mean, let me ask you something. If you had has any fan ever gone overboard, like whether it's a kid or anybody else, anything in particular that where you've been like, yo, this is insane, like this is this could be
when we
overboard.
fought through the crowd one time, there was a little overzealous fan, and at the time I was the baby face and the heel was hitting me, and then when I went to turn around to hit him, I saw somebody grab, his hair and everything else and start trying to. So you just kind of accidentally miss the guy you're aiming for and hit the fan and remind him that he's a fan. I mean, you just, not trying to take somebody out, not trying. You just make sure they know. No, you bought a ticket. You're over there. Relax. If we want you to be part of the show, we'll be like, hey, who wants to come stand in my corner? Boom. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's times for everything. I mean, we've done shows where, because Make-A-Wish, they're not allowed in the ring at WWE and AEW events. That's why a lot of the stuff you see is behind the scenes, because their insurance does not allow for those to be ringside. So we would do that. We'd have kids come in and be the ring announcer, things like that. So there's times where, you gotta smarten up a little bit, but not too much. But it's one of those things, man. It's tough, especially with kids. And like adults, better. You step over the line, you might
get
stomped. Yeah, you might get Chris Jericho. You know what I'm saying? That one guy when Chris Jericho, I think it was Cody in AEW, and the guy tried to jump on the ramp or whatever.
or the many times that Seth gets jumped on
Seth tackled in the back. Yeah, things like that. I mean, those things, you got to make examples sometimes.
All right, one last thing, guys, and Sean, if you can help me with sharing that as well, that screen. And there it is. One last thing that we wanted to talk about is, of course, our good friend, the Bus. Me and Sean actually were able to go see him at one of the CCW events.
Port St. Lucie event.
They had the Port St. Lucie one. And unfortunately, our friend, the Bus, had a major heart attack. And now Andy, as they said, that he's now made his way back home and he's recovering. I've seen him at Bash at the Brew as well, and I've met him personally and taken photos with him as well. So shout out to Andy, the Big Bus. Hopefully he recovers. Anything you want to say to Andy yourself?
Success on the recovery, and it's one of those things, because I believe this happened before the Bash at the Brew show, or no, one of the shows where I believe he was going to be like fighting for the championship against Ariel.
Yeah.
And I saw this come out like right before the show or something, and it's one of those things, man, where again, it's a tight knit group. I'm sure they're all hoping the best for him, and if he's home now, hopefully everything is okay and he can get to a full and speedy recovery, and we can get the Bus back in the ring.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. But yeah, guys, I just wanted to give you a quick take of the indie shows and the indie market and how we work with we kind of see how it is. And if you tell Sean, me and myself, Sean, are like trying to put like sharing more of the screen. That way you guys see these actual wrestlers, because I know a lot of you guys don't know who they are. So it's good for you guys to at least actually know, put a name and a photo together and be like, oh, okay, I see what they're talking about. So last but not least, Sean, I'm a little bit disappointed that. What are you gonna add?
We're gonna find out right now. Freddie Prinze Jr. He's got a thing, Premier Streaming Network.
Okay.
They are holding a card. I believe it's September 9th. They will have a first ever heavyweight champion crowned. It will be I believe, what's he going by now? The god of indie wrestling, Matt Cardona.
Oh, okay.
taking on the godfather of indie wrestling, Colt Cabana, for the first ever title. So that's one of the things.
I did hear about
One
that.
of the matches coming up there, and then also there's a lot of things coming up now. They just announced Starcast 6, which will be during All Out weekend in Chicago. If you can go to those, again, they're a little pricey. No, I'm not going to sit here and BS you, but for your ticket, you get into a lot of good events, and you get to meet some of the stars. I believe Bryan Danielson will be at Starcast, or is he at WrestleCade? Because there's also WrestleCade in November, which I'm trying to get to, but I got to figure out how I can work it out to be back by a Sunday. So, but it's one of those things to where a lot of good things are happening and going on. In the WrestleCades in North Carolina in November. You can meet a lot of the older wrestlers there, and also some of the newer talent. They also do shows and a lot of things like that. So
Cool. Awesome, man. So, like I said, this is the first time we kind of like are kind of putting our feet into the indie um, kind of news. So we're gonna keep on trying to add more stuff and give you guys as much as we can of what we hear and what we know about indie shows. And so it's kind of like at the last minute we just set this up, but I hope you guys enjoyed also this portion of the show. Last but not least, hey man, performer of the week, Sean. Who do you got?
oh man, I'm going the 40-minute segment. I loved it. Greatest performers of the week. They kept me captivated for 40 full minutes. And not only that, they came back at the end of the show for another 15 minutes. So for almost 1 full hour, the Bloodline, the 40-minute segment. Suck on that, Mr. AEW.
Soap operas, baby. We love them soap operas.
I do.
My performer of the week is Dominic Mysterio. I wanted him to go out there and say something, and he finally did. He told the people to shut up, and he finally went ahead and he was like, "You're not gonna do this to me again." And he basically was kind of talking back to the crowd, and I enjoyed it. I wish today he would have challenged Carmelo for the NXT belt, but hey, he could still come back. Listen to me,
Wait,
WWE.
listen, I don't know what was said before. They had a face-to-face with Carmelo, Trick, and the Judgment Day. And then they end up having the tag team match. So they might have worked something else out to where maybe Dom will challenge for the title, but tonight it was the tag team. Never know. We'll have to see. I didn't get to hear everything, so I don't know what was said.
I'll watch the replay because I obviously DVR'd it, so I'll take a look at it after the show. But yeah, Dom is my guy. Dom, if you're watching, he's a big Peso Pluma fan as well. I follow Dom. I always hit him like. So Dom, if you're watching the show, man, challenge Carmelo. Go after that NXT. Tell WWE to give you that NXT belt. You deserve it, my friend.
Oh, you're done? You're done? You're done?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You're sure? You're sure?
I'm done, sir. I'm done.
All right. All right. All right. So let's go through, no doubt. EWD Junior, Karen Joseph, Cap for life. My dad, Jaime Zoria. Appreciate you, my friend. Watching from Southern California. Armando V was in. Tony Thompson was in. Sorry, I messed up. Josh, Terry. Let's see who else. Man, thank you guys. King Mahi Carlos. Active chat group tonight. Active chat.
It must have been the top
Giovanni
5.
Perez. Steven Gonzalez. Appreciate you guys, man. Appreciate everybody that tuned in. If you're downloading right now, don't forget, check us out on our social medias. I'm at Sean_Stanley11. That's Twitter. That's Instagram. That's TikTok. And that's that new thing called Threads. You can hit me up on all of them at Sean_Stanley11. And you can also check out the channel at Sports Talk with Sean Stanley.
You could guys, you can find me at Frezko Music, FREZKO Music on all platforms. Talking about on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. I'm not on TikTok. And also check out my YouTube page as well. Also, Frankie Frezko. And one last thing, I want to go ahead and also say thank thank you everybody who's tuned in. I know last week we were off. Sean was out, and then I obviously had a little bit of issue with my son, my dog. So it was a little bit rough last week. So I want to go ahead and if I could give a performer of the week, a second performer of the week is definitely going to be my dog because my dog Rocco, he unfortunately suffered an injury on his right paw. It was on Tuesday. He injured himself, but he's been a trooper. The guy, like, he's been like the guy that has been next to me the past 12 years. So I kind of get emotional because I just love the dog. He's my guy. Like I don't have like a wife and kids or anything like that, but he is my son, and I'm glad my dog is doing better. And thank you guys. And I apologize, I'm getting a little bit emotional. Like I said, it's my dog. I take it personal. Like I really do love that guy.
Emotionally invested in your dog, my man.
I love
We all are.
he is like he's like not second to nobody, man. He's been with me through the good and the bad. So I'm glad he's doing better. He's downstairs, he's chilling, he's holding me down. So
We're glad he's doing better too. I'm happy.
Appreciate it.
He's doing better.
Appreciate it.
All right, no doubt said, way to go, Rocco. There you go, buddy.
Yes, sir.
So in the words, are you anything else real quick, Frankie? Sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
No, man. Tune in, hit that like, subscribe, and
like,
check
subscribe,
us out.
notifications. You want to talk wrestling anytime during the day? Like I said, reach me out on social media.
Oh, Fight Forever
all the time.
Fight Forever. I have it on PS5. If anybody wants to play online, let me know. I go by the cheat. You can send me a message on Twitter. I'll send you my gamer tag, and we can play Fight Forever as well. Sean, do you have get Fight Forever? That way we could have a live stream of us.
I got a life.
Come on, man.
I get yelled at enough. Football season's about to start. I get yelled at enough. I don't have enough time going on. In the words of the great Gordon Soley, so long from the Sunshine State.